don't sleep to dream, we sleep to build stamina. Energy to do our thing, get your camera. This show is about to begin, so sit down and buckle it in. Let's go! Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Friday Unleashed Show, 10 a.m. on the dot. And I'm here with Shane. My name is Brian. I am in a hotel room because I was at Matthew Kadish's extravagant Harry Potter themed wedding last night. Shane, how you doing, brother?
Good, good. Did you spot Professor Sneed? I just want to know.
I think it's Snape.
Okay, well, I'll take it, whatever it is. I didn't
So you're
watch
not a
those
Harry
damn
Potter
movies
fan,
anyways.
I take it.
Good. I thought it was Sneed. Snape, I think you're right. Anyways, good morning to you guys too. Yeah, it's Friday here. I'm in California. Brian's in Nevada, and we made this work. Brian, thank you for making this work so we could do our Friday normal show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. It has been an eventful 24 hours. I left my house at like 10 in the morning to get here in time. And right now, Vegas is doing like they're cosplaying as like a Need for Speed video game. What's going on is they're going to have like the F1 race, I believe. I think that's what it's called here in Vegas on the strip. Like they're going to be speeding down the strip. So they're doing like all kinds of construction and road work.
Just like any other Saturday night. Okay, got it.
The traffic is insane. I purposely picked a very affordable hotel, in my wife's words, cheap ass hotel, next to that was very close to where Kadish was getting married at this place called Area 15, so that it would be easy on me because I like the check-in was at 4 and like the wedding's at 5, right?
Wow.
And so we get out at like 4:45 with rushing out, and I'm like, cool, it's fine. It's going to take 5 minutes. The GPS says 5-7 minutes to get there, no big deal. But not now, not in Vegas.
No.
And 10 minutes later, it said 10 minutes later, it said 4 minutes to get there. I'm like, it's fine. We're still gonna get there in time. And then I made the massive mistake of making a right on the wrong street, ended up on a highway, and the GPS went 4 minutes to get there to 24 minutes to get there because there's no U-turns, there's no return.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's terrible.
It was a disaster, but the wedding was great. They fed us mashed potatoes with horseradish, and that ruined my stomach.
So I haven't heard anything positive yet. So let's say congrats to Matt.
Matt was awesome.
Jude was Salty beautiful. Nerd Podcast. If you guys are not familiar with Salty Nerd Podcast, check him out, and you can see he'll be glowing for at least the next 2 weeks, and then it's all downhill from there. I hate it.
No, it was great. The wedding was great. The place we're in, this giant like hall, and they use like ultra low throw projectors to project onto the walls. Really high quality stuff. And so basically we're sitting in like the reception hall, and it looks like the hall from the banquet hall from Harry Potter.
Oh, with all the tables. And did they have the little hat that you go up there and
floating candles, and like all the pictures are like animated and stuff, and they look like some creepy AI generated thing, and it was cool. It was a really cool thing. And it was cool. Everyone there was very nice, had a good time. My wife for the first time was like, your friends aren't that bad.
Whoa, well that's high praise.
My wife never likes my friends, but that last night she was like, Alex was cool, Vader was awesome, Vader's wife is adorable.
Well, she doesn't like your friends. Oh, she doesn't like your friends because they're usually sleeping on the couch. That's true.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. No, this was actually funny. So my wife has a picture of me on her phone from like our Cancun trip for like 6 years ago. Cancun trip from like 6 years ago. And I was real skinny back then. I'm looking like a stud. Well, because I look so much like Alex, and Alex is skinny, Alex's wife was like, "Why is my husband's picture on your phone?"
Oh, really? Oh, that's true. Yeah, you guys do kind of look alike back.
We do look alike, especially with the beard and everything. Yeah, good times though. We got a great show today. We are talking about the Marvels, which, by the way, I had to watch last night at 11:30 at night after driving for several hours. If you think that I was already coming into this annoyed that I had to watch it in the first place. Amplify that by 10, considering that I had driven. I had been up. I worked the night before for like 10 hours trying to fix stuff at our shop. And then I slept for a couple hours and then worked for like 5 hours. I'm sorry, drove for like 5 hours. And then after the wedding and all that stuff that happened, went to the movie at 11:30 at night. And the review is going to be very interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot you can really say because I went into the movie definitely wanting it to be good. Every movie I go into, I want it to be good because one, I'm spending a couple hours doing something and I don't want it to be a waste of my time.
Right.
You know, even it is something that we do, for as a job, you never go into a movie wanting it to be bad.
Of course not.
So yeah, but until you prove me wrong and if you continue doing the same thing over and over again and having problems, we're going to go over it. The likely chance of it being good may not be so good. So
right. We are also talking about Ghostbusters: Frozen Throne. The box office beat, which by the way, Shane, I will need you to send me the link for that because that's not on this computer.
No.
And additionally, we got The Weekly Weird, which is a lot of funny / sad stories today, which is going to be fun to talk about.
Funny / sad, which is the mood that you're in right
now. But for real, Matt, if you're seeing this, man, wedding was great. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was an honor. Jude, you look gorgeous. And all the boys over there, great time all around. I got to hang out with Charles, sorry, who is a guy who's been on the Talking Nerd Show a couple times, and he is just a pleasure to hang out with. Real good dude. We got to have him as a guest on our show one day.
We don't do guests, but that sounds good. So it's funny. We keep getting all these things like, hey, you mind if I come on your show and be a guest? I'm like, well, problem is we don't really do guests.
Now, I mean, like if I'm not here or you're not here or something.
Oh yeah, he can be a guest
about like
host.
Guest host, right?
Let's put it this way: if I'm not here, because
right,
okay, got it.
Because I make it happen regardless.
You do,
as you can tell. Welcome. My audio sound out there. Does it sound good?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
All right.
Hey to everybody in the chat. We got Penny, we got No Money G, Anthony Mark, Goron, Falf, Euron. I don't know why I keep getting it wrong. Euron, Archmage Frey, The Dork Knight. Danny. Was Danny there last night?
He was not there last night. I think he was annoyed by that, but he was he texted me. I'm gonna try to hook up with him tomorrow. Hang out a little bit.
Well, he does have a message here. He does from Danny, The Dork Knight. Member for 2 months. Glad you had fun. Saw some of the stream last night. What, they streamed it?
Oh, of course they did. Salty Nerd Show.
I had no idea they were streaming the wedding. Wow, interesting. Looking forward to checking out Area 15 sometime. Hopefully we can hang before you go home. There you go.
I was molesting Alex on the live stream.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I was trying to do was make sure that they didn't include me so much on the live stream, but I think he liked it, so he just kept filming.
Just kept doing it. All right. So we're going to definitely be jumping into the Marvels here. Anything else you want to talk about before we get going?
Not in particularly. I'm sorry. Just so you guys know, like the Stream Hero is not here today because we are using StreamYards. But I did get the ticker working, and as you can see at the top,
those numbers are not even remotely close to correct.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, you did them?
Yeah, I did them.
Wow. Come on.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
I'm impressed. You would have never added. Listen, Brian doesn't add numbers, guys.
I'm not a numbers guy. I don't like doing it, but I did it. And by the way, it's so hard on YouTube because you got to like scan through, and I might have missed a couple. But since we've been back demonetized, those are the top 10 super chatters.
Nice.
So I really appreciate it.
Wow. So we appreciate you guys doing that. Speaking of things, we will not be going to a member section today. Unfortunately, we just can't do it with Brian remote. So next week, you're going to get 2 members shows. So we'll do one early in the week and one later in the week. Okay.
Sounds like a fun time.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, why don't you give me your first impressions of the Marvels? First off, how did you feel going into it? Like, go back to like when the trailer first came out and like kind of your thoughts on the initial trailer, and then how that made you feel going into the movie.
Well, I got to tell you, Beastie Boys makes everything a little better.
Okay.
So the trailer having the whole Beastie Boys music, made it entertaining. I was intrigued by the power switching and how like they would switch places when they used their powers. I thought that would be an interesting dynamic, and I thought maybe we'd see some really cool team fights and like ways they can use that mechanic. The villain looked like some kind of like TVA time variant version of Ronan the Accuser. So
from the trailer,
yeah,
interesting, because I didn't get that impression till the movie.
Because she had the hammer. Hammer. I was like, oh, it looks like a female version of Ronan. Which, to be fair, that's what I thought it would be at first. I was like, the whole variant thing is a big thing right now with the Loki series. And I don't like Brie Larson. I'll make that clear. And I don't really like. I'm not a fan of Monica Rambeau. The characters was introduced in WandaVision, and I wasn't really interested in her. I do like. I can't pronounce her name.
Iman Vellani.
Thank you. I like the girl. Kamala Khan. I've sort of liked the Marvel series, the Ms. Marvel series. I think she's a breath of fresh. I think she's very she's a good actress. She has a lot to go right now, but there's a lot. I thought she might be good in the movie, and I thought there might be an interesting story there, even if I don't like the other characters. That was my thought on the trailer. I thought my optimism is always showing, and I'm like, it's possible that this is entertaining. I didn't think it was going to be a good movie, but maybe entertaining. And to be fair, if you know me, I love the Fast and Furious movies, not because they're good movies.
They're not good movies.
They're not.
Can we agree right now they're not good movies?
No, they're not good movies, but they're entertaining. The stunts are crazy. They're
just
ridiculous.
Wanted to hear you say they're not good movies.
No, I know they're not good movies. Look, the last movie with the tank, the guy in the tank top at his wedding, like it's just so silly and so stupid. At this point, they're just action-packed comedies.
Naked Gun 4, that's what they are. Yeah.
Right, it's like Naked Gun 4. Yeah, exactly. Okay. But what makes it funnier is that they don't know that yet.
That's a good point, actually.
They think they're doing like big action epic movies, and we're just laughing at them uncontrollably. That's what makes them entertaining, though.
Yeah, I had the same thought. So, when the trailer first came out, I thought, oh, okay, this could be entertaining. I love the idea of power swapping. That was kind of interesting. Like, how are they going to pull off this whole thing? Where they're swapping, not because they want to, but every time they use their powers, they're being swapped. So I was very interested in that going into the movie. I do have a Brie Larson problem, not because Brie Larson is playing Captain Marvel, but because Brie Larson's just a terrible actress. And, she was chose for the role for whatever reason she was chose. The original Captain Marvel movie was sandwiched in between Infinity Wars and Endgame unfairly. I think there was no point in putting that character should have really been saved for Phase 4 of Marvel instead of being shoved into the initial. And so that didn't make any sense. And I felt like it was forced. And so there was a little bit of that. But then she didn't have any charisma. So I was concerned coming into it. So when they said, okay, well, Teyana Paris is going to be in this movie along with Iman Vellani. And so that might cover up some of the Brie Larson grossness that we get from Jax. Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I went into it with that idea, and that was kind of my thoughts. And I actually I'm like, look, Marvel needs a win. And as much as, we get on here and talk about it, we are not rooting for Marvel to be bad. We are not rooting for movies to be terrible. Right. So we want them to be good. That said, Marvel has had nothing but it's been a crap show going all the way back. Each one of their movies that have been released since COVID, the gross earnings keep getting lower and lower and lower. It's trending downward. And I can promise you there were 6 people in my movie theater last night.
Yeah. Yeah, I reserved my seats, and it's funny because I'm like, I better get these seats reserved. This is opening night, and I'm in Las Vegas, and I went to the Cinemark app, and it was like there wasn't a single seat purchased.
Yeah,
it's 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's not a good sign. Having 6 people. Now there were moments during the movie where I heard some people laughing at some of the jokes, some of the 6, but maybe some of the 6 are there because they were really wanted to see this, and this is what they do. Something interesting about, before we get into the review, It came out yesterday initially on Rotten Tomatoes. The score was about 40% initially when it came out.
Mhm.
And over the night, it has now climbed all the way to a fresh 61%, which is interesting. And the audience score is actually at 86%, which I find interesting. So
Wow.
my thoughts are the audience score is it's all going to be based on which audience goes to see the movie.
Maybe there's a lot of cat ladies out there.
Maybe. But I'm not even so sure that was a cute thing. I know Penny put a comment in there about the kitties are my favorite part, and thank you, Penny, for that comment. Remember, for 3 months, and they did go for that element, but that was part of the problem with the movie and the tonal shifting. Let me just go ahead and give you a little breakdown of what the Marvels is. The Marvels is essentially it picks up a little bit down the line from when Captain Marvel came out after Endgame. Captain Marvel is out on missions. And we pick up the story of her. We pick up Ms. Marvel, I guess, Kamala Khan's character, following the events of Ms. Marvel TV series. And of course, we pick up Monica Rambeau, Captain Rambeau, following the events of WandaVision. And they've kind of come to this place where they're all doing something different, but because of this bad, evil character, this villain, their powers end up becoming intertwined because of something going on in the universe, and they are off to try to stop it from happening. Would you say that there's anything more to the plot than that?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem with this movie. The movie isn't bad because it chose a 9 to 29 female target audience, which it does in this film. It's obviously targeting young women. And as I put out in a tweet last night, they can make a movie like this that's targeted towards young girls, but they're just going to lose $260 million.
Right.
So, I mean, that's really what it is, because the reality is that, who loves superhero movies, right? Mostly, let's say 90% of fans of superhero movies are dudes.
Yes, the target audience are men, for sure.
Right. It just is. Now there are women who love superhero movies, and there's no problem with that. But if you make a movie that targets them, especially after you've kind of disenchanted or taken the desire for you to watch these movies after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and after all the Wakanda Forever, and all these movies have come out that kind of make you go, why am I going to watch Marvel movies again?
The Eternals.
Are
they going to pay any of that off yet, or was that just a lost movie?
The Eternals was like a wrapping up, actually, I think, of
except for the giant Eternal that's sticking out of the Earth's crust right now that no one even mentions again.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But
the Eternals was a way better movie than this one, though. So as far as from a standpoint of telling a story,
right?
So they do have this. It is definitely targeted. You can tell it's targeted towards young audiences, young female audiences. The music that's chosen, the way the interactions are, you can just tell that's the target audience. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if Disney thinks it's going to make it's going to make up its money targeting that female demographic, they're sadly mistaken. Yeah. Because the guys who love these movies, they're not going to be drawn to this. They're not going to want to go see it. And there's just not enough superhero lady fans that are going to enjoy this. It's just not.
Right.
So this movie's bad, though, not because of that reason, because you can make a great movie. You can target young female audience and still make a great movie. You can. It doesn't mean everybody's going to come watch it, but you can still make a great movie. It's bad because it doesn't know what it wants to be tonally. The story is all over the place. They're taking us on weird tangents that don't make any sense and don't work. The villain is forgettable. And you just don't buy off on the relationships between the characters because, very little character development occurs. There's a feeling that you've missed a movie. Did you get that feeling during this movie that you've missed something?
Well, see, Shane, you did. You did.
What did we miss?
You didn't watch WandaVision or Ms. Marvel. And in order to get the most out of this movie, you will need to see WandaVision to understand Monica Rambeau, and Ms. Marvel to understand Kamala, whatever her name is.
Right, but so the kind of the reasoning behind why this is happening, and I don't know how much we want to get into it, but Captain Marvel basically made a choice at some point to save the civilization from themselves. There's a whole AI story here, and when she makes this choice, essentially for them, it's kind of interesting. Like she went out and decided to save these people who apparently control 25% of the galaxy. Apparently, I can't remember what their names were. What was that race of people? This is so forgettable. The problem is like the villain and like all of her people are totally forgettable.
Yeah, it's just like the Kree or something.
The Kree, that's what it is. And so she
basically. And by the way, like for comic book fans, killing the Supreme Intelligence like instantaneously it would be like killing Thanos in the first 5 minutes of the first Avengers movie.
Okay, good point. Which tells you that they're not going to go that direction, right? That's not what they're doing. It's a knockoff for what they really wanted to get to at the end of this movie, which we can talk about later. But when she does this,
you mean that horrible CGI? Like,
yeah, the horrible.
How
CGI.
is it that makeup and CGI was better in the early 2000s than it is now? Can someone tell me that? How is what's happening?
I can tell you actually, but okay, I don't know if you want to go into the whole thing here.
Let's wait till we get there.
Yeah, I mean there's a reason for it. But she goes on this whole adventure for the civilization. The whole point of this whole story is because she did something that she thought was better for these people, but it ended up making it worse for these people. Right. I feel like I missed a movie. Like there's like a whole setup here that I feel like I didn't get. And I think that's a big part of the problem. And the fact that it feels like it's trying to be Thor, Love and Thunder, while at the same time trying to get like the dramatic undertones of like Civil War. It's like this weird, hodgepodge of emotions when none of it is earned because you just don't care about the relationship between the characters. When you see Carol Danvers, face off against the villain, you don't get a sense that there's anything there. They hate her, right? They hate her because she's the, what they call it? She's the tormentor. No, the what the hell is she? The retributionist. I don't remember. Some weird ass name that, of course, you can't remember. The Annihilator or whatever the hell it is.
The annihilating retributionist. Or I'm like, what?
She sounds like a WWF
name. Do you smell what Brie Larson is cooking?
So there's nothing earned there because you didn't get to experience what this villain went through. Like they tried to create a multi-layered villain, but they couldn't because we didn't get any backstory on the villain. And she seems like this weird Ronin replacement. Like you said, she's got the hammer, but no Infinity Stone. There's a hole where the Infinity Stone goes, which is weird.
Okay. Yeah. So real quick, first off, she is literally like the wish.com version of Ronin.
Yeah.
And Ronin was the wish.com version of Thanos.
Of Thanos, right. Yeah.
So you have a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, basically. She has Ronin's hammer that once had the Power Stone in it. Somehow the hammer is now powerful or retains that power. How does that work?
What was that? Like that's the problem with this movie. There's so many questions of like how or why or what,
So lazy. It's like audience. You think audience members are not going to remember that the Power Stone is no longer in the hammer? And they're just like, remember when Ronin used it because he imbued it with the power of the Power Stone.
Well, I don't even think it's Ronin's hammer.
It might not
that's the thing. It's weird. It looks exactly like Ronin's hammer. Did they just pull out old CGI of Ronin's hammer because they just couldn't afford? Is that why that's her weapon?
Yeah, I think it is. And let's be clear, Ronin was not a good character either.
Right. But he's a better character than this one.
But he's a better character. Ronin, I remember criticizing the movie and thinking like the movie was great. The villain was bad. Like Ronin was a bad character. No one cared about him. And the fact that he was cucked so hard by Thanos, made him a worse character because you're like, he's supposed to be like this big bad villain, but we immediately see him as an underling to Thanos and we don't care.
Yeah.
No, so that was a criticism back then. So that character wasn't a good character. So to recycle his character with a worse version of an already bad character makes no sense.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the villain in this movie, I can't even remember the name. This is terrible. I can't even remember the name of the villain because I
wrote it down.
The moment I look it up, I immediately forget the name.
I think it's Dar Ben.
Darbin, right?
Darwin.
Darbin. Okay, Darbin, which now I just forgot. So, they have this thing where something terrible happened to her people and now she's angry, but she seems to almost be evil for the sake of being evil instead of giving her this interesting backstory where you like feel for what she's gone through. You end up not having any feelings for what happened to her. We get a small smidget of like they can breathe now because she broke the barrier, right, to another world. So they're doing this thing where they're jumping around and taking
they're getting resources for her dying planet. What's weird is like, it's like the sun is dying or whatever, so it's really dark on our planet, but it's not cold.
No, dude, don't even try to go into the science of that. What happens when a sun dies? what happens?
I mean, it gets bigger, which
it gets bigger and hotter. Right?
It gets bigger. Right. So when a sun dies, right? Okay, so that's a good point. It turns into but when it's dying, it's a red giant, which means it's like by volume much larger, which means it would be closer to the planet, which means it would be hotter.
Oh yeah, 100% true. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But then
on the opposite side of that, then if like let's say it's maybe they're like, when we didn't go to second grade science, and we're like assuming like the light's going out, so it's really dark. Well, then it should be cold. Like pick a lane, but like it was just like everyone's normal, like hang out in their tank tops, like nothing, like there's no temperature change at all. It makes no sense.
It's just it didn't make a lot of sense. And then you have this whole relationship between Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers, which Monica Rambeau's like really angry at her, and it's like, I don't know, like I couldn't go from the last Captain Marvel movie to this movie and understand why she was angry at her.
It's because, and you had to watch WandaVision, like during the blip, the 5 years problem, I guess her mother died and like Captain Marvel wasn't there or something.
Yeah, that they showed that in the movie, but like, okay, she wasn't there. So now I fucking hate you forever. I mean, I don't understand the motivation for that. And then,
so they also didn't do a good job of taking care of the people that didn't watch WandaVision. Like they quickly explain things to like hopefully stave off the questions. But it like you didn't watch WandaVision, so Shane, where did Monica Rambeau get her powers?
Well, she said in the movie something about she walked through something. I don't even remember what it was. She walked through something and it gave her powers.
Yeah, it's when so she was working in the military and she walked through like the barrier to get into.
Let me ask you a question.
WandaVision's town.
What are her powers?
So that's a great question. It's almost like her powers are like what she needs at the time for them to be.
Isn't that a great superhero of like your power is whatever you need it to be?
Yeah.
Oh, like, you need to fly and save that girl. All right, I guess I'll fly.
Right. Same with Miss Marvel. To be fair, like Miss Marvel's powers started off as like very like you understood them. She like controlled like force fields basically, and that's what they were in the TV show. But like they definitely changed and evolved to things that don't even like fit correctly.
I do not understand what her power was. She made a rock shield. Like that was her power.
And she was manipulating energy still, but like it was more than that somehow. And the crazy thing is when I was like 13 watching the X-Men, if there was a character like Monica Rambeau or Miss Marvel, I would be like, okay, so what the F is her powers? At 13 years old, I'd be like, that character doesn't make any sense. It seems like she could just do whatever she needs to do. That's OP. That's broken. It would, like you gotta have like a clear, like Rogue. Rogue was a character in X-Men. Her powers were she literally took on your power when she touched you. That was her only power.
Which is a cool power.
Right. Which means she had to wear gloves. And there was things that limited her because her power. She also had limitations that messed with her life. Like she couldn't touch people. Like, those were clear powers. Now, when all of a sudden she was just flying permanently, you're like, as a 13-year-old, I was like, how did that happen? So you can't just like lazily give a character whatever tools they need to get through the plot, because that is bad story writing.
Bad storytelling. Lazy. Well, and I spent a lot of the time trying to figure out when they were supposed to switch places. Like there were so many times when people used powers that nobody switched, and then all of a sudden they would switch. And it took me You should notice this in the movie. Like, you should watch the movie and go, oh, I get it. You shouldn't have to like do critical thinking for 6 hours after your movie to go, what was it? And try to figure it out. Oh yeah, when they use their powers at the same time is when they switch. Like, that is not clear in the movie. And so, because I didn't understand really what their powers were or when they were supposed to switch, the whole cool element to this movie, which was supposed to be the switching of the powers, ended up getting lost. And that was the hook into the movie. Like, that was what was supposed to make the movie great.
Right.
So that fell apart. And then the fact
and it really fell apart. Okay. Sorry. When at the very end of the movie, and I'm not trying to rush here, but I have to say it now while you're talking about that.
Yeah.
When they set up this whole mechanic that is supposed to, like, you're assuming this mechanic is going to pay off in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this moment where Little Marvel is like trapped by Wish.com Ronin, and she's about to like smash her head with like the giant rod smasher thingy. And Breeze, Captain Marvel, is looking at her. It's like at that moment, that would have been the payoff for the power switching thing.
Right.
But it's like they just forgot that mechanic existed.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
Like that should have been the payoff. They like look at each other and they like use the powers and they swap and they like save the day with this mechanic that was frustrating them, and now it saved their lives. But they just forgot. It's crazy. It's like you set up this whole that was the most interesting part of the whole thing, was that mechanic that was used as basically a reason to work together, and that was it.
So what did they do instead? That would have been the thing to use. So what did they do instead?
Oh, what did Captain Marvel do?
Yeah, what was the solution? Instead of using the obvious save the day situation that would have brought the story into some sort of completion, how did they end up doing it?
I don't remember.
Well, here's the thing is, when you write a story, when you're doing something like this,
it was generic. That's what it was.
It's generic. Yeah. So you end up in these places where we don't know how much of it is like the studio reshoots or how much of it is, the director just making a choice. But regardless, it just didn't work. Some of the other things that were really weird about this movie, like the Flurkin side story, like initially, like that was kind of interesting. Like the cat is on the space station, or it was on her ship, and it eats a couple of guys and kind of protects Kamala Khan, right?
Right.
And then it's brought back to Earth into Kamala Khan's house, and it spews up these two dudes who end up like fighting the whole family. So that was kind of interesting. But I didn't need a movie with Flurkins eating people the whole time or consuming people.
That was the thing where they like everyone was getting in a Flurkin.
Right. It was like their transportation, and it was supposed to be like this horrifying, like it's supposed to be really funny. Like you have these so the Flurkin that we know has kittens or whatever, Flurkins, baby Flurkins on the space station, and there's a bunch of them. And so, of course, the plot device, blah, blah, blah. They, this is the only way they can get everybody off the space station is to have the Flurkins eat everybody. It just didn't work, man. It was like a weird video game side quest or something. It was just
the movie was made for adolescent girls and their
who love kittens,
divorced moms who have like a lot of cats.
Well, I mean, and they aren't. I mean, they were cute, but as soon as
they were adorable. The mechanic though was overused.
Yeah, it was overused, so it had a little bit of kind of funniness, and that's all it should be, is a little bit. How about the singing planet? Did you get Star Trek Strange New Worlds PTSD when Brie Larson went to this place that's very special to her to save these people who are about to be destroyed, and you can't talk to them, but if you sing to them, they'll understand you.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't like that at all.
It felt weird to have this like song and dance routine when everyone's lives are at stake.
Yeah, I'm not. First off, the musical element, people are really abusing this right now in Hollywood and TV shows and movies, like in little bits and pieces. It's a great flavoring. Like when we see a movie like La La Land or something, like, oh, that's great. Now, do I want to see that like constantly? I don't.
Or inappropriately.
Or in a movie where like there are lives on the line. I do. Like when their stakes are high, I don't want you to sing. Like this is not the right time. Look, if I'm about to be shot by someone and Shane starts singing, I'm gonna be pissed.
I'm like,
do something
don't
appropriate,
shoot my
please.
brother. He does not
Please
want to die.
Don't shoot. Although I bet you it's so silly and so
it might make him
stupid
stop
and so
and be
cheesy.
like, what?
Like the mugger would be like, what the fuck is going on right now? He would be confused, which would allow me to grapple the gun, I suppose. Maybe that's it. Maybe that would be a good strategy. But it messes the whole tone of the movie up. Like you're in this tone, you're going through this story, and it's like all of a sudden you know what? Imagine if you're reading like a Tolkien book, right? And like one chapter was like randomly Tom Clancy.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? It's like all of a sudden Aragorn is a spy and he's dealing with Russians and like that doesn't make any sense.
That's Secret Invasion.
Right. Right. So like everything changes like at a point in the movie for a brief period of time, and it's like it really doesn't fit. The musical element doesn't fit, and I'm really tired of it being abused. It's like ever since La La Land, really, it's like Hollywood has a hard-on for trying to include as many musicals in the crap as possible. And when people watch it on Strange New Worlds and they applaud it like it's fucking award-winning stuff, that just emboldens these really lazy writers to like do more musical crap. And we're like, stop. This doesn't fit. This doesn't fit.
You know, it's weird. We're seeing a lot more movies that are just tonally messed up.
Right.
Like they don't know what they want to be.
40 writers, dude.
Yeah, they don't know if they want to be funny, if they want to be dramatic. They don't know. And this movie suffers from that. And here's one of the biggest ones. Nick Fury. This isn't even the same Nick Fury from before. This new Nick Fury doesn't give a crap about anything. He is comic relief. He's a bumbling idiot. And even in the face of certain death, he's still telling jokes, which is very, very weird. Is this the Nick Fury you bought off on?
No. And you know what bothered me? Like in Secret Wars is we started this mess. So I'm watching Secret Wars and the whole time, like the first couple episodes, like you are assuming that Nick Fury is the typical badass he's always been, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this meeting he has with War Machine. What's his name? Brody or something like that. I'm forgetting because I don't give a shit anymore. And he's sitting down with War Machine, Don Cheadle's character. And Don Cheadle he's basically revealed that, sorry, spoiler alert, that he's a Kree. Skrull. Which by the way, makes it worse because now all of a sudden it retcons the last like 7 movies that he was a Skrull the whole time, which makes his heroics like totally, and his whole being paralyzed thing. There's like so many questions all of a sudden. Like, how does that even work? But he basically just like pimp slaps, not actually, but like verbally, Nick Fury. And Nick Fury at one point, there's like a glimmer of the old Nick Fury where he's like, I think you forgot who I am. But then Don Cheadle's like, I don't give a shit, bro.
Right.
And then like when you expect Nick Fury to spend the rest of the time redeeming that action and showing the world who he is and what he's capable of, he doesn't do any of that. He is constantly beat the entire time. He is constantly beat, old, downtrodden. And then the last part of the movie is him, or the show is him coming home to like his Skrull wife. And you're like, what going on?
Yeah. It's very confusing what they've decided to do. It feels, Nick Fury's character is, because it's kind of stayed the course through all the phases of Marvel. It's gotten that fracturedness that the rest of that Marvel feels like it is from the different phases. Nick Fury has changed throughout the phases as well. And what's the point? I mean, he is sidekick comic relief in this movie. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's what he is.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So
and, he makes the Kamala character look cool. She's got to protect him a bunch, which was like, I'm waiting for him to do some protecting. Like,
I mean, he's got one scene where he basically he shot one of the Kree. That was it. Tessa Thompson gives us a cameo as Valkyrie. The whole
how did she get there?
Well, I don't know either. She's not supposed to be able to work the port, the whatever it's called, the portal, light portal,
the Frost,
Bifrost Frost,
whatever.
Yeah.
So how did you get there? Someone, I saw another review early this morning that popped up on Twitter, and it was like, I forgot what he said exactly, but basically it's like, at this point, Marvel is just like injecting characters in, like it's some kind of 90s sitcom just to make the audience be like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's that person over there. And I didn't consider that until this character showed up out of nowhere. Like, I'm waiting for like more characters just to show up out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever, who have nothing to do with the story. And there's no explanation of their travel. Same with like that show, Rings of Power. When you're like, how did they get there? Like, how did they get there so fast? Like, it's like there's video game rules all of a sudden in these movies, and like they don't have to explain any of the logistics or physics behind anything. It's just like almost like the one Stargate episode, the 200th episode, when they were explaining bad writing. When they were explaining bad writing, and the I forgot his name. The producer is like, well, what we'll do is we'll show you coming over the ledge and seeing all these Jaffa and Goa'uld ships, right? And then we'll cut to like a commercial. And when you come back, you'll come to the Stargate and you'll talk about how crazy it was because we can't afford the CGI to have that battle. Like that's what's happening right now. It's like in real time, we're seeing movies and TV shows that just sort of skip the important parts to get on to the drive the weak story.
That's true. Yeah. Well, director Nia DaCosta did want a movie that was under 2 hours. That was one of the things that she wanted. This is, I believe, the shortest Marvel movie made to date at 1 hour and 45 minutes. The writers on this were also Nia DaCosta, Megan McDonnell, and Elisa Karasik. So I mean, this is, and with the guest starring of Tessa Thompson, it just seems like the villain's a female. Tessa Thompson, the cameo is of course a lady. Nick Fury's cucked. All the main characters are ladies. It just becomes this, it is what it is. And
so the director, though, I also saw an interview where she was saying that because the time was the movie was delayed so many times that she wasn't even there for the post part of the process. She had to go work on a different movie the entire time. So she was other people handled like the actual putting together of the film.
And it does happen like that sometimes. I mean, she should have had some oversight, but these big studio films, who knows? And she has very little experience. This was her, let's see, she's a director. I got her as directing, let's see, 8 movies. Wow.
And I'm not even sure if I blame her per se, because it is the studio's problem for moving it constantly. She had other obligations, but if I'm being real here, like, you're not directing an episode of General Hospital. This is a Marvel film.
Well, she did do 2021's Candyman, which was not a good movie. So this is her true second movie. Well, she did Little Woods back in 2018. So this is, I mean, yeah, she's got the reins on a huge movie here. And I know that they want to give more opportunities to women of color, to women. And so I don't deny that, she should have had a chance here. And if you watch it, I mean, some of the fighting choreography is great. There are elements of it that work, but I mean, I think they handcuffed her by giving her a movie and saying, look, make us a superhero movie for the ladies, because what's going to happen is this movie is going to bomb horrifically. It's going to just bomb horribly. This movie, it'll be lucky if it makes $100 million. If I'm being really honest.
That's crazy.
So I honestly
imagine. Can we go back in time and have an interview, have a guest panel with our younger selves, where we're like, hey guys, I know you guys love Endgame, but in like 5 years, a Marvel movie won't even break $100 million.
Right.
We would have been like, you're fucking crazy. It'll always, even when they're bad, they'll always make tons of money. That's crazy.
No, not when you do this to it. I mean, look, could you have made this movie for 30 or 40 million dollars? You should have been able to make this movie for a lot less than what you made it for.
Right.
You know, all VFX stuff, which we're going to talk about. But Marvel, the only solution for Marvel at this point, and Disney as a whole, is to just stop making content. I hate to say it because I know they think like we got to keep making content so we keep making money. But the reality is nobody's going to watch this stuff. Okay. Nobody wants to watch these shows and these movies, and you're just going to keep losing money. So the best thing to do is let's take a 2-year break. Let's take a 2-year break and let's make people miss it. And then after 2 years, you bring back a Marvel character and a movie that everybody will really want to watch.
Right.
And then you start over from there, and then you slowly build. Stop. Listen, it's like you're being waterboarded with this stuff. You know, I'm thirsty. Give me a drink. Thank you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know what I mean?
It's that was a good drink. You want some more?
Right. Right. And to the point where you're not thirsty anymore. Not only you're not thirsty, but you think you might be dying. So that's where we're at with Marvel. And they just did probably the worst thing they could possibly do at the end of this movie. And which is a spoiler alert. We should probably mention that. So if you don't want to know what happens at the end of this movie.
I guess technically it was Kelsey Grammer.
Technically, yeah. Well, go ahead and you go ahead and break it down.
Which is funny because technically that means I was right, because like 2 weeks ago on one of the Salty shows, I was like, I think the cameo is going to be Kelsey Grammer, because I read it on some post thing where it's like there's someone was doing a percentage of what character could be, and they broke it down. And the only real option was probably Kelsey Grammer, because at the time of filming, remember, you couldn't be filming for the last like 5 months.
Right.
So in order to have gotten that cameo in there under the wire, it could have only been like these few characters, and Kelsey Grammer was literally at the top of that list. And so I guess it was technically Kelsey Grammer, except for it wasn't, because it was like Beast from the X-Men universe, because now Monica Rambeau is in the X-Men universe.
That's the same person. Yeah, Kelsey Grammer is Beast.
I know, but it didn't look like Beast from the
No,
X-Men.
It looked like Beast from the 90s. So it looked like cartoon version Beast from the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so listen, so spoiler alert, obviously the end credit scene, which seemed to be the only interesting thing about the whole movie, honestly, was Monica Rambeau. Of course, she saves the day, fixes the Kree's sun by flying through it, which that fixes everything.
That fixes everything. Didn't you know that?
Did you know? She just flies through it. That?
All you gotta do is fly through it, and all of a sudden it's good.
And of course, she ends up in an alternate reality dimension, but of course Marvel's
multiverse, so
I fucking hate the multiverse, man. I hate it so much. But of course her mother is there. She's a different variation of her mother. She's alive. And of course we see that the X-Men are in this universe. So
yeah, and the Beast is like her doctor.
Yeah. So how to explain to me how completely unexcited you were by that reveal?
Yeah, I didn't care.
Yeah, it was like could care less. That's like a huge thing. The X-Men are coming into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, but what made it work? First off, we already knew that. You would have to be a complete, total dullard, not paying attention to anything, to not know that the X-Men are coming into the Marvel Universe. We've already seen Multiverse of Madness, where literally Professor X is murdered by Scarlet Witch. Fantastic Four, played by I can never pronounce his name. You know that guy from The Office.
Oh, Jim. Yeah,
Jim
Halpert.
Yeah, Jim Halpert is Fantastic Four. Actually, it's probably not. They're probably gonna gender bend it and make it some like chick with like a bull dyke haircut or something, and with the gray on the sides. But what we already know this. So aside, like if you watch Multiverse of Madness, aka Mom, you would know what's happening. If you followed anything with Deadpool, you'd know that X-Men is like Wolverine's joining Deadpool. Like this, I mean, like that trailer has like 1 billion views. The one where Ryan Reynolds is sitting down with Wolverine.
It's a good point.
You would have to be completely clueless and walk into this movie having only watched Captain Marvel crap, like Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and WandaVision. And no, if you watched WandaVision, you would know we're getting the X-Men too because there's an X-Men character in WandaVision. Right? The Quicksilver character. You already know. Like if there's no way you don't know. So A, no surprise whatsoever. B, the character doesn't look as good as he looked in the X-Men movies. He looks bad. It looks cheesy. I like Kelsey Grammer. I like Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I like both versions of the Beast in all the X-Men movies.
I do too.
Beast is one of my favorite characters, not from the cartoons. I didn't really care about him in the cartoons, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in the movies,
they've done good.
In the movies, it was cool. Yeah. Like it was a character that has like this weird, his power is not great. Like he has extra strength and all that. But basically his power is he turns into like this gnarly looking.
He's a voice of reason too, which is
right. But he's the voice of reason. He's reasonable. Right. He's masculine. He's intelligent.
Right.
You know, Beast is a tragic character that instead of wallowing in that tragedy has decided to rise above it and help others. That's what makes the character so good.
Right.
Why did he look so much better in every other X-Men movie? But now in 2023, we have a character that looks like it looks bad. Looks bad.
Yeah. And why did this movie feel like it was just setting up another prequel?
Why did you say the cartoon version of him?
That's what it reminded me of.
Oh.
It felt like, and the VFX were so bad, it felt like I was looking at a cartoon. You know?
Really? Yeah. You know what? Now that you say that, now I'm saying that, I wonder if that was intentional.
Maybe. The problem is all the VFX people at Marvel are just tired, and it's showing in their work. You know, I mean, I know all the post-production is so much. I mean, the post-production is equally as important, if not more important, than the actual shooting itself. It's gotten to the point now where the VFX is more than half of the movie.
Right.
And if you don't do a good job on the VFX, it's really starting to show through these movies. We saw it on The Flash. We saw it on almost every Marvel movie. There's been, elements of where things don't look quite well. The special effects in this movie, when everything's moving, seems to be fine, but when it stops and you're focused on it, you can kind of tell that it just doesn't look right. So there's a lot of issues there. I would say the one positive from this movie that we can take away from it is that Iman Vellani was good. Her fangirling really comes across well, and she actually becomes the heart of this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I said it last week. I feel sorry for that actress because she is genuinely doing the absolute best she can.
Yeah.
You can tell she not only is doing the best she can, she is loving what she's doing, and she is excited to be in this role, and she is just doing as much as she can with it. But man, does it suck that such a young actress with so much vibrancy and talent is tethered like an anchor around her neck to these horrible stories and these horrible characters that surely will not continue.
Well, and that's and what's cool about what you just said? She represents the target audience. She's the target demographic. Mm-hmm. So the Kamala Khan character is the target audience, and the target audience has got this movie. And I'm so sorry for any of you guys that love this movie and that said, "Wow, I feel like I'm being seen." I feel like this is a girl superhero movie, and I can be inspired to be a girl superhero. This is going to die on the vine. And I got to tell you, Disney Marvel may push forward with more stories about this stuff, but they're going to do so knowing they're just going to continue to lose money doing it. So I feel bad for if you did love this, and that character, the Iman Vellani's character, is like the target audience where you're basically just being pigeonholed into one movie and sayonara. So,
yeah, I think that's all right. I just read that. And now it makes sense. The Beast character was fully CGI. There was zero practical effects whatsoever. And man, does it show. It looks like some like video game Grand Theft Auto CGI from like Grand Theft Auto 3 or something. It looks bad.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like PS2 graphics, guys. It's weird.
Well, that's our the Marvels movie review. Hopefully, if you guys decide you want to go see it, now you know what you're in for. And I'll be very curious to see what the numbers look like in the box office as we start following it over the next several weeks.
Yeah, same here. Okay, a couple things. First off, you aren't fault. Thank you. You gifted one podcast membership to one of you lucky bastards. Good job.
Thank you. You're on.
Michael Nemo for $5. Thank you, Michael. He says, can you fill me in on what this film was originally going to be? I keep hearing that it was Captain America 3. I'm sorry, Captain Marvel 3. And then it was course corrected to this. Like, yeah, maybe. I don't really know. I think Brie Larson was contracted where she had to do it.
Yeah. So Brie Larson, they had a whole thing. They were going to continue making, obviously they're going to continue making Captain Marvel movies. But Brie Larson comes across as so unlikable. They had to put her with other characters and make it an ensemble movie because she just can't pull off a movie by herself. I mean, if you go back and look at Captain Marvel, made a ton of made a ton of money. But the problem is it made a ton of money because everybody felt like they had to go watch it in order to watch Endgame. So that's why it made a ton of money. You walked away from that, and Brie Larson was one of the worst things of the movie. And once again in this movie, guess what? Brie Larson is again one of the worst things in the movie. Yeah. I don't know what it is. She has no charisma. Like I don't care how many damn squats she does to make her butt look more round. Like that is not enough to keep you watching the movie.
I mean, her butt did look better in this movie.
Well, yeah. There was some joke about how her stand-in double, like the butt looked really good or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I remember the original Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. Like she had that one picture where a lot of the superheroes do this, where they're looking back at the camera like this.
Of course. Yeah.
And so it shows, and it's like an upshot where it shows their butt. And you're like, oh, all right. And like the on-set footage where her butt is literally just like a pancake and there's nothing there. And you're like, huh.
Yeah. Well, so she put in the work. I mean, obviously. But here's the thing is like, it doesn't matter because she comes across. How can someone who is like about to be in tears, like she's almost going to cry, her character's going to cry, and you look at her face and go, wow, she really just doesn't give a shit about anything. Like that's the problem with Brie Larson is that when she's acting, she looks like she doesn't care. The reality is she can't act. Like acting is the ability to transform yourself into someone else. And she doesn't have that ability.
In Scott Pilgrim versus the World and in Community, she played like these apathetic characters, if I remember correctly.
Apathetic characters. That's who she is. She's an apathetic person. It worked. If you give her roles where she's just supposed to be apathetic, maybe she's fine. But it's Captain Marvel, man. Like superhero Captain Marvel. You know, and the whole relationship between her and Monica Rambeau and kind of this whole like Captain Marvel didn't feel like she could return to Earth because of the bad thing that happened to the Kree, and she just couldn't live with herself, and she couldn't look at the people that she loved after the mistake that she had made. And that was the stupidest damn thing. The stupidest damn reason for her not to come back to Earth was because she needed to fix what she did to the Kree so that she could face her family. What kind of dumbass writing shit is that?
Yeah, it's stupid.
It was the stupidest thing. I mean,
stupid.
Anyways, you guys have heard
it here. We don't even care. How do you even relate to that? Like, how can you relate to that as a person? It's dumb.
You can't, and it didn't make any sense. And yeah, anyways.
Also from Michael Nealman for $5. Thank you, Michael Nealman. It says, according to the internet, and I guess this is an example of Monica Rambeau's powers, transform her body into different energies, including X-rays, gamma energy, cosmic rays, infrared, and radio waves.
Thank you, Michael. I didn't know that.
That's cool. But was any of that actually like represented on screen?
Well, and looking at that, I still don't understand. Like, okay, so she becomes she can pass through things.
That also sounds like the character Binary, if I remember correctly, which was like a Captain Marvel variant.
Maybe that's part of the inclusion or part of the reason they did that. But here's the thing. What if she was an X-ray or gamma ray? Wouldn't she, as she's traveling through something, like destroy that thing that she traveled through? So I don't know. It just seems weird. And apparently, I guess, so her cosmic rays must be how she made the sun reignite the nuclear. She created a nuclear reaction inside the sun or something like that. So, all right.
like it reignited and like none of that. Like the science behind that is like I don't understand how that works. Like if the sun is dying because it's old, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be really big? Like you're not reigniting anything, right? I guess are you adding like suns are dying because they run out of fuel. They're not.
Yes, that's it.
So did she add fuel to it?
I don't think that's possible.
I mean, if she was just like reigniting what was already there, that makes sense. But like, yeah, how do you add fuel? And how do you add fuel to something as large as a sun? Like a sun is huge. Like it's massive. It's like thousands of. It's massive. It's so big. I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
Seems OP to me.
Bob Dorsey for $10. Hey, nice to see you, Bob. See you over in the Salty Nerd Show. It's very cool to have you here. 40 minutes behind, cutting wood outside, listening to the podcast. I've been listening to more and more of the two of you and enjoy it. Have a good Veterans Day. Thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate that. And man,
thank you, sir.
I should be outside cutting wood. That just sounds like a manly thing to do.
It's a very manly thing to do. Like,
I love it.
I'm outside. I'm cutting wood.
Yeah, I like it.
You guys,
Bob, is your shirt off? And are you glistening? That's what we want to know.
Yeah. Listen, you guys talk about cats and little girls with powers. Enjoy your Veterans Day, bros.
I love it. I love it.
That's true.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. No Money G. What's up, brother? $10. Thank you, No Money. He says, I really enjoy listening to others suffering for who watch these painful movies.
I got to be honest with you, No Money. Thank you so much. I almost got up and walked out when the singing song and dance thing started on that planet. When they started singing and then they tried to talk to him and they couldn't understand him, so they had to sing back to them. I literally like got up and walked out. In my mind, I got up and walked out. And then I realized, crap, I got to talk about this tomorrow. I can't leave.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
I think I definitely I think I mentally dropped out a couple times because it was really late. I had been up very, very for a very long time. I definitely mentally dropped out a couple times. The most offensive thing about the movie for me was the lack of that mechanic, because that was the only thing I was interested in seeing how they would pay off, and they did not pay that off. And the overuse of the Flurkins, which, by the way, the Flurkins were like funny once.
Yes, and it actually worked in the beginning,
right? And like we didn't need to continue that down that trip. And I just saw a message from Archmage. Binary is Captain Marvel after Rogue steals her abilities, referring to Rogue the X-Men.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's cool.
There's a lot of Marvel lore, and I'm probably not up on all of it, but that's cool. That's why it reminded me of Binary. Interesting.
Yeah, I also need to be able to watch these movies without being a Marvel expert on comic books.
Yes, they're Marvel movies. You don't need to watch every comic book. You don't need to watch it. You should not have to watch every Disney Plus show to enjoy a Hollywood blockbuster release.
Right.
I mean, look,
especially when they tell you.
I'm all about the show adding to the lore, but it shouldn't be required homework to watch like 37 episodes of something before you can watch a movie.
And when they were asked before the movie came out, like, what do you need to see to go watch this? Oh, no, it's standalone. You can just have seen, as long as you saw Captain Marvel, then this will be just, you pick up right where you left off.
That's
100%
BS.
not true.
In order to know what the Kree are, like to understand the Kree, you have to watch like Guardians of the Galaxy, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the first Marvel. You need to watch like Secret Wars and to understand the Skrull. You need to watch Miss Marvel to understand Kamala. You need to watch WandaVision to understand Monica Rambeau.
The Skrull element to that movie was such a small, insignificant thing. The Kree villain decides that, they sicked Captain Marvel on them, right? And which didn't happen at all. And then they basically destroy where they live. And they just kind of look at Captain Marvel like, it happened to us. What a bummer. And it's like, I don't know. Just wasn't good.
The good news is, and I have good news for you. If you have Hulu already, which a lot of people already have Hulu because it was like it was like the second streaming service. So a lot of people are like sort of grandfathered into Hulu, and you might have like the old account where it's like $7 or whatever. Here's the deal. If you have that, you can go into your back end on Hulu, and for $2, Literally, for $2 a month more, you can add Disney Plus. For $2, you can add Disney Plus. Now there's ads on it, which I think is criminal, but if whatever, you can add Disney Plus, and in about a month, I'm pretty sure this movie is going to be right there on the front page. So you can watch this movie. You and your entire family can watch this movie for $2. Or
or just move on.
Or the high seas and just, take that risk.
Yeah. Or don't watch it at all.
But don't go to the theater. Like, don't waste your time. Like,
no, 100%. This is not a theater worthy movie.
No.
I hate to say it. I don't want to tell any movie not to make money, but let us save you. Don't spend your money watching this movie. You won't be happy with it. No,
you're not. So. You will not think that you got your money's worth for this.
100% true.
And leaving the theater, and I'm going to say this, everything will be a little dimmer and your popcorn will taste worse. This movie will actually make your life worse having watched it in the theater. I'm kidding.
Wow.
Look, it's just not a good movie.
Deep.
And if this is the glimpse into the X-Men that we're going to get, that's bumming me out, dude. That's bumming me out. I like the X-Men.
I know, but I'm having a hard enough time being excited about the X-Men returning to really even care. Honestly, it's very hard. Every time they make one of these movies, it like removes a small piece of my soul. It just does. Like it just makes it a little worse and a little worse, and I become more like Brie Larson every time I watch one of these movies.
Yeah,
a little more apathetic.
Let me tell you something, bro. Everyone is fully aware of your slow march towards fully black-pilled. We can go back and like watch our shows from like a year and a half ago, and we can see like the optimistic Shane, and we can do a time lapse where you have slowly become black-pilled on like the majority of what we talk about. It's very evident. Everyone is watching like, hey man, Star Trek me great. I like Strange New World season 1. It wasn't bad. Like, fuck you. You're like, what's
I just sit here with a cigarette, and just kind of be quiet off in the corner.
like it's because everything sort of sucks right now. But
it does.
What makes it worse with this movie is that you did not have to spend all the money on CGI. I just saw a picture, and I had to go back to remember, of Kelsey Grammer in Beast makeup. Kelsey Grammer is still alive, still a vibrant man. You could have just put actual makeup on the guy and had him walk in.
They didn't want to pay for him to do that.
He
would have been like, I need money.
They didn't want to pay for him. The billion-dollar company didn't want to pay to do it right.
Yeah. Why not pay your VFX specialist $24 an hour to do it, or give Kelsey Grammer $150,000 to come do it? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that's the problem.
It's so strange, the decisions that are being made. And I know they're being made by multiple people, but like, it's like everyone's a little afraid to tell those people that are making the ultimate decision, like, that's a bad idea.
Of course, they don't want to tell them that because they want to keep their jobs. We already
that CGI looks like trash. We need why can't we just call Kelsey Grammer in here? Oh, because the SAG-AFTRA strike. He can't come in here, but we can do his voice. And you're like, well, what the? Well, let's just not do it then.
Yeah.
Like here's an option. If you can't do something to the best of your ability,
no, not to the best of your ability. If you can't do something well. Forget the best of your ability, because some of these people can't do it.
I'm being generous because I don't think this is the best of their ability. We've already seen the best of their ability. Like there are people that stream online that maybe they're not great, but they're learning and they're getting better as they go. Like as long as, in my opinion, if you are doing your best at something. Now listen, there is a point where if it doesn't work and it hasn't worked and you're not getting any better, just stop.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're getting better at something and you're putting your absolute best into something, whatever you're doing every single time, then continue as long as it's progressing. But if you are just like mailing it in and just doing the bare minimum and whatever, like if you can't do it, just don't do it. And like the end credit scene didn't have to happen. We didn't need it. We didn't need the movie, to be clear.
I was like, keep going.
We didn't need any of it. But that end credit scene in particular, like if we're supposed to get excited by this, first off, nobody cares about Monica Rambeau. No one.
No, nobody does. You're right.
I don't care about her mother. I don't care about her. I have no interest in that character or her family or her backstory.
Because they're a side story to Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, and we don't care about her. So why the hell are we going to care about Monica Rambeau if we don't care about Captain Marvel?
Right. We have no interest in this character. Like we're barely being introduced to her. So like there's no emotional drive there in this post-credit scene. Right. But then additionally, when there should be, where maybe she's just a device in order to get us to see Beast walk in after 23 years or however long it's been.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
But then you give us like the CGI monstrosity and the graphics look like something from PlayStation 2. Like, why? How? I want to know what studio heads screened this end credit scene and was like, that's the one. Kevin Feige, what's going on, buddy? What's going on? Did you watch this? You watched this and was like, that's it right there. Run it.
Well, it's at some point you're like, well, how much money are we going to make? I think Kevin Feige is dead man walking. I really think that he's a shadow of his former self. And I think he realizes there's nothing he can do to make this better because he's no longer in control. I don't think he's in control. I think he has bosses that are saying, oh, you keep losing us money. Well, now you need to do this. I think Kevin Feige has people telling him what to do now. And it's just making it worse because when studios are telling you what to do as a creative, it only makes it worse. So Samuel Force for $2. Thank you so much, Samuel, for the donation. Another Marvel flop is Marvel doomed. Samuel, 100% Marvel is doomed.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. To me, it's really unfortunate because I do believe that the pinnacle of comic book movie making was Endgame, and I believe that you had a path forward that you could have really done with, and they just couldn't figure it out, and now they're on life support.
We needed to take. Here's what happened after Endgame. We needed to take a breath. We needed a moment. We needed a break. We had just had, a decade of movie making, more than a decade of telling this story. We needed a breath. We needed to take a second. They needed to give us a break. Okay. So we could recharge our Marvel battery, and it just didn't happen. And so we ended up,
especially after that amazing story. Like, oh, what a great wrap. Let's take a break. We'll come back in a few years, 5 years, 10 years.
You don't have to go that long. You don't have to come back in 10 years. You can come back in 3 years.
Why not 10? Let's just come back in 10.
Well, because they want to make money. So they're not stupid. They're not going to wait a decade to keep making money on their product. But you can give us a 2 or 3 year hiatus. How about this? Start over with another corner of the universe, right? And do the exact same thing you just did with Iron Man and start over again. Give us something to care about. Give us something to look forward to. Make it a little different. And unfortunately, at this point, I think that they feel like if they don't they keep throwing more content to try to make enough money to cover things, and it's just continuously making it worse. At some point, it's going to be such a loss of revenue that they're not going to be able to justify continuing to make it. They're going to be forced to stop making Marvel products. Then perhaps after 2 or 3 years, you start to get this longing again. But it's going to take the right character to come back. It's going to have to be somebody we probably haven't seen before, but somebody that we like or care about. Mm-hmm. Perhaps one of the, like the Fantastic Four could have been one of those characters, or one of those movies that got you excited again.
Yeah, easily.
The X-Men being rebooted properly could get you excited again. So, but other than that, Samuel, I do think that Marvel is doomed. And unless they stop making Marvel stuff, I don't think that they can get back on top again.
I also believe that this is DC's chance, and I think they're blowing it. They're sort of blowing it right now.
Yeah.
This is their chance to actually get market share and show our Marvel how it's done, right? But I think they're blowing it. And we haven't really seen anything yet. Like, we haven't seen what James Gunn is doing, but he does have control over what we're currently seeing. And, there are decisions being made that makes no sense. Like, speaking of the PS2 graphics from Captain Marvel, like same with the Flash. The Flash basically had really bad, horrible graphics. And And the director, who I'll be honest, like he was way more enthusiastic about the Flash project than than Miss Marvel's director. But he tried to explain like, oh, well, it was supposed to look like bad graphics because he was in the Speed Force. You're like, come on, bro. Come on.
Talk
bro.
about justifying,
Yeah.
but it costs a lot of money to do graphics. And at some point you got to be like, hey, we just can't spend any more money on this film. And that's what's happening.
Right.
So, and these films are costing so much money. It's ridiculous. So,
right.
Speaking of whether or not you can be excited at the theater, Brian, we had a trailer drop, didn't we?
Yes. Real quick though, late night with Cap. Cap thinks we're talking about him when I talk about doing your best. Not talking about you, bro. Okay. You're great.
Doing your best.
Because I was like, hey, look, if you've been doing it for a long time and you're not getting any better, stop. I'm not talking about you, bro.
Wait, you talking about his YouTube channel?
No, not yet. Yeah, I'm not talking about you. Listen, we've been doing this.
No,
we've been doing this for like 10 years. Shane was a reviewer for like 25 years.
30 years.
30 years he reviewed movies. I literally worked with people like Orlando Jones, Clive Owen, people like actual, I've worked in the industry as an editor and what they call producer editor for a long time. Shane was a reviewer for 30 years. If anyone has been doing this for too long and not getting better, it's him and I.
Yeah, we're the epitome of that. Yeah. So
I was describing us, not you.
Very cool. Right. Very cool. All right. So yeah, we were pleasantly surprised with a Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Let me try
trailer.
To pull it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys remember, Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, and it was actually a really nice movie. It was we enjoyed it. It was it really took and kind of cleaned away the disgust of the 2016 Girlbusters movie.
Did you say Girlbusters?
Girlbusters, right? Isn't that what it was called?
Yeah. Girlbusters.
Girlbusters. That's actually what my son calls it. So my youngest son actually really likes the Girlbusters movie. So anytime we say Ghostbusters, right? I say, well, what do you want to watch? And he's like, put on the Girlbuster movie. So even he, at the age of 7 or 6, recognized that it was a movie about girls. Like, he didn't say Ghostbusters, he said Girlbusters.
Right.
I mean, so when you're a kid and you can see like what the studio is trying to do when you're 6 years old. I mean, it becomes pretty damn obvious. So,
all right, well, let's watch this, and now we're gonna stop at certain moments to react so that the copyright claim bots don't come for us. Just so you guys know.
Oh, and so let's just set it up really quick. So, of course, Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, and we ended up with a new generation of Ghostbusters, the grandchildren essentially of our original Ghostbusters. At the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife, we get a transition to the firehouse, the original Ghostbusters firehouse in New York City, and of course, Ernie Hudson's character, who is now rich, and we get this feeling that there was going to be another Ghostbusters movie, and this is what we've got.
Yeah, and it makes me believe that that Ernie Hudson's in charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go.
I'm telling you, it's going to be another hot one out there. In fact, there are heat alerts in effect for New Jersey, feeling like 100 degrees.
So I'm getting climate change vibes right now. Are you getting climate change vibes?
No.
I'm getting climate change.
If you've ever been to New York in the summer, then you understand this. And there's a reason why they said the temperature, and you'll find out in just a few seconds in the trailer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually went to New York in the late fall. It was cold and it smelled like pee. Like everywhere I went, it smelled like human urine.
Your cultural bias makes you think anytime you hear temperature makes you think that they're automatically going to be because you're expecting to be preached to in a movie. That's where your brain goes first. And don't worry, I did the same thing at first, but it does get cleared up.
I say okay. This is Coney Island, right?
Yes. Ooh.
I like the way the music stopped. That was cool.
Yeah, it was great.
What is that?
You better pause it every once in a while. We got this great scene of this girl playing here on the beach. Actually, I didn't need to say that. We have to say something here.
All right, back to it. Whoa, man. All right.
Okay. All right.
So Coney Island, there's
Nice
a
little
storm a-coming.
Good establishing shot.
Yeah, it is.
Whoa. You know those people aren't in the water out there.
Yeah, and yeah. First off, yeah, I think the water in Coney Island is pretty bad.
Oh, and you get a great thong shot here. It's funny.
Right.
Just to show the proof that I'm a true red-blooded American male. This is a very quick shot, and you've got all these. Look at this one. You got the Ferris wheel out here. You got all these umbrellas, the beach, and all I see is this girl's butt as she's running away.
Yeah, until I paused it, I didn't see any of that stuff. Thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
I do like how the ice is coming down like bullets into the water. That was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's freezing very quick.
Ooh, now that's the reason. Now pause it. That's why they said it's 100 degrees, so that when you see the freezing, you're like, oh, something's wrong.
Yeah,
that was why.
I love how the lightning popped off the spire on the building. That was cool.
Yeah,
this looks graphics. Ominous, right? Ominous.
It looks fantastic. Yeah. Whoa!
By the way,
whoa, spikes.
But right there, as soon as I see a cab impaled by spikes, I'm like, I'm getting out of New York, man. This is not working for me. Look, I got to deal with a lot here, but I'm not about this. I'm not gonna get impaled by ice spikes. I gotta leave. It's not working.
I want to know the mechanism that creates ice spikes that come out of the road. How cold it has to be, or something,
Yeah, I mean, I guess those they're stalagmites, right?
Stalactites and mites. I can't remember which one
goes down,
one goes up, and one goes up. I can't remember though.
Yeah. And here it is.
Ooh, the firehouse.
And listen, that every time I hear that classic noise, I'm like instantly taken back to Ghostbusters. And what reminds me of how bad Ghostbusters was is if you go back and look at that trailer, that sound effect is not in it. The music is epic, by the way.
First time in New York history.
A little more grown up, it looks like.
Yep.
People froze to death in the middle of July.
What is it?
Yeah, even she looks much older. Some time
what the hell is going on with Indian guy? What's his name?
Oh, I'll tell you what's going on.
Kumail.
This guy is taking steroids.
Yes, this is what I was thinking.
Look, I am not
Kumail
bashing this man. I'm not bashing him. I'm not trying.
No, I like him.
Yeah, I like him. I'm not trying to, libel, talk slander. He is 100% on steroids.
He's becoming this metrosexual type of creature.
Like there's muscles in this man's like chin that weren't there 3 years ago.
And of course, we're speaking from a place of jealousy. But
Yes.
If you go back to what's the darn TV show he was on that we loved?
Oh yeah, that's Silicon Valley.
If you go back to Silicon Valley and the superhero transition he's now had to this, he's definitely a completely different looking person, which is fine.
Yeah, he's like muscles on muscles on muscles.
Mm-hmm.
The death chill.
Okay.
Power to kill.
Dan Aykroyd, baby.
Dan Aykroyd, he's in it for sure. He says the death chill. He's referring to exactly what's happening, the power to kill by fear itself. Great. I'm with it. And we see Ernie Hudson. Great. So far, so good.
Bye.
Oh, look what it is. Look what it is. Bill Murray. So 3 Ghostbusters are in this movie, according to the trailer.
There can't be more than that. So, yeah.
I know. But according to the trailer, we're getting teased, or teaser trailer, 3 of them. That's a great sign.
Yeah.
Fear itself.
Oh, that's great too, by the way. The statue's coming to life.
Yeah.
I love that.
Classic Ghostbusters.
Your veins.
Classic Ghostbusters.
Oh, see now the spikes have now. What did that scene just show you right there with the spikes coming up? The spikes are obviously controlled by some sort of entity or some sort of intelligence.
Yeah,
they're being used as a weapon or as a controlling agent.
Veins.
So it's not just a weather thing.
Right.
and the rivers of ice. Your bones crack.
It's probably that guy right there. The guy that's
Yeah.
sticking
Horns.
horns, or maybe it's some kind of like tubes or something into his head.
I think it's horns. It's got to be.
And the last thing you see
Patton Oswalt's in this movie. Cool.
Cool.
is your own tear ducts freezing up.
This is a cool shot.
That's the new Ghostbuster, though.
Yeah, this is the news. They must have picked her up in New York.
Maybe Ernie Hudson's granddaughter or something.
Ooh, that might be cool.
Tear ducts freezing up.
And apparently her eyes are gonna freeze over.
Like literally scared to death. So cool.
That sound effect is so rad, though, right?
Let me tell you guys something. I don't ever want to see another fucking trailer again about this movie. This is it. One time. I don't need to see anything else. Don't tell me anything else that's going to happen in the story. You've given me one really good trailer. You've teased me. Now shut the fuck up and go away till the movie comes out. Am I right here?
Yeah.
Or am I right?
You're right, but 100% there will be like 5 more trailers that come out.
I know, but it makes
3
it worse.
TV spots, 14 interviews, and a bunch of key art that spoil stuff.
Okay, like for example, what's that movie that Gran Torino? That movie what was it? Gran Turismo.
Gran
What-
Turismo.
What is that stupid ass movie about the video game kid who?
I think it's
became a real
Gran
racer?
Turismo or Turismo
Okay.
or whatever. We all get it.
When I saw the first trailer for that movie, I was like kind of excited. I'm like, yes, this looks like it's going to be really good. And then I saw it again and another and another and another. And I said, I don't want to watch this movie. And I'm terrified that that's going to happen if we keep watching trailers. Like, okay, now let's just watch the movie. Right.
And you can't even avoid it. Like if you're using like these ad services, like if you're not paying enough for the ad-free experience,
right.
then like these trailers are coming up and like there's nothing you can do about it. Like you're gonna watch them.
But you
Sort of
don't
like-
know.
Like your eyes are taped open from Clockwork Orange. You're just like, look at Gran Turismo.
Right. And now, so this movie, we got a basic idea of the premise. We got teased with some cool things. We know who's going to be in it. Why do we need to see anything else? And I think this is a huge problem that the studios go through. And this is one of the reasons why people don't get excited to go to the movies. A lot of times you feel like you've seen most of the movie by the time you even get there.
That's
and now
true.
you're just following through to make sure you didn't miss anything in the trailers.
Yeah,
Am I right?
Shane is really aggressive about like the overuse of trailers, but
Bothers
he's
me
right.
so much.
There's a lot of like you're marketing a movie. There's got to be some kind of mystery here. You can't just like, and I know why they do it though. Like, you think they're not making money on these trailers when trailers on YouTube have like, 8 billion views? Like, they're making money. Like, there's money being made on the marketing itself. Like when they're getting free exposure by going on, the Colbert late night show or whatever. Like, of course. But we don't need 5 trailers, 3 TV spots. We don't need that stuff. We need marketing. You need to talk about it for sure. But you don't have to have 18 trailers to prove your point. Like, I think a teaser trailer and a full trailer is enough. And then that's another thing too. They can't do their rounds too. Like, they can now because the strike was happening. Writers and actors really couldn't go on red carpets and late night shows and stuff to talk about things. So that's another issue. Like, The Flash was so weird. Like, the way they marketed that movie was so weird. Like, they gave you way too much, but in reality, actors couldn't talk about it. And I don't think they wanted their actor to talk about it because he's nuts. So it was hard to market that movie. This movie is really easy. After this teaser trailer, I do expect a full trailer. You shouldn't reveal anything. It should just be all about the hype, and then you should back off. And don't have your review embargo the day of the release, because that is obvious. Like, right then, the second that happens, everyone's like, oh, this movie's bad. They don't believe in their own movie.
Yeah. Well, I have some really good news. I don't think this movie is going to be bad. And I'll tell you why. I don't need to see any more than this to think that it's going to be a good movie. First off, the last movie was really good. We really enjoyed it. And, the director here is Gil Kennan, and the writers are Jason Reitman. And guess what? Ivan Reitman before he died.
Awesome.
So the original, Ghostbuster guy is involved in this movie still. before he died. So, it's going to be true to the story. It's going to be true to the characters. It's going to continue telling it. And we all know that McKenna Grace and Carrie Coon and the new actors, the young actors in this movie are actually really good. Our favorite Ant-Man and the Wasp superhero, Paul Rudd, is fantastic in that last role as his character. It looks like he gets even more in the next movie. It looks like he's actually a Ghostbuster this time.
It's great.
So it's honestly, I think it's going to be a fantastic movie. I'm hyped. I'm 100% hyped. I can't be any more hyped than I am right now for this movie. Let's just shut up and go watch the movie.
Let's do it. All right. Good point. All right.
Shut up. We can still talk about it, but let's not see any more of the movie and let's go watch it.
There will 100% be another trailer, just so you know.
I know there's going to be more trailers, but I'm going to not watch them. So that's it. I don't want to know more of this story before that. One of the things that's missing from movies is surprise.
That's true.
I think it's an important element to the movie watching experience.
That's true. All right. Referring to we're going to super chats now. Referring to the last segment when we're talking about the Marvels, I think Michael Nemo was talking about that. Thank you to Michael Nemo for $2. He says maybe she crop dusted the sun when she went in. That's possible, Michael Nemo.
With what, Michael? What did she crop dust it with?
With her farts.
I just wanted to hear you say it.
She's coming in. She's like,
all right.
And she's spitting out gamma radiation and
there's some science there that backs that up. There's some science that backs it up.
Yeah.
So just so you guys know, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire does come out in 2024. Let's see if we have an actual release date. We should.
1 second.
Okay. The actual release date for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is March 29th, 2024. So basically a little over 4 months away, and we'll get to see it, which is great. I love seeing a trailer come out. 4 months, trailers coming out in March. There's some other good movies coming out in March as well. I think we're going to have a pretty interesting beginning release to the year, as long as it's not a Marvel movie. All right.
Okay.
So I think we should talk about I think we should definitely talk about box office barbarism next.
No. What are you doing?
What?
You're doing it on purpose. You know it's box office beat.
Beat. Oh God. I knew it started with a B, but I felt, you know what it is? I saw like a pirate movie last night or something. I don't know what's going on.
Whatever you say, bro.
I think we should talk about the box office beat next.
Yeah.
Since we just talked about a couple of box office movies.
You even hesitated on that one. Like you were going to do it again.
No. I'm only once. Here's a link to box office. I sent you the link to Box Office Mojo.
I got it. Yeah. I'll put it up right now.
Okay. So if you guys take a look at box office for October, very interesting. The domestic box office for October 2023, Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, ended up dominating all of October.
Dominating the October stream.
Although you got to give huge cred to Five Nights at Freddy's, who managed. So Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, ended up earning $166 million in the month of October. It released October 13th. The Exorcist Believer, which came out a week before that, only earned $63 million. But check this out. Five Nights at Freddy's, which came out October 27th, 4 days before the end of the month, earned in October $117 million. So it crushed those 4 days.
Wild, man.
Absolutely crushed it. And even though Taylor Swift owns it, I think moving into the beginning of November, Five Nights at Freddy's is obviously taken a huge push. It defeated Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, during the November 3rd through 5th weekend, earning $19 million. Five Nights at Freddy's continues to dominate the dailies with almost $1 million a day, defeating Killers of the Flower Moon. And so I think as we see the movie,
it's going to die off though. It had a 76% drop off.
Listen, after Halloween, you knew what was coming.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, unfortunately, it's got this time frame. and unfortunately, putting it on Peacock did damage to the numbers. Imagine if that hadn't been on Peacock.
Right.
What kind of numbers could it have? And this is the thing that frustrates me about releasing a movie. As much as I enjoyed them releasing it on Peacock because it saved me like $100, it does no good for. How are we supposed to know the success of this movie?
Yeah, good point.
How do we know? How do we match it up against other things?
Right.
Right. Sitting on the worldwide box office for this year, if you go down,
look at the Priscilla. The percentage of increase is it increased 3,747% from week to week.
My God.
But that's because they added 1,355 theaters.
Really?
Right. So here's a comparison. Taylor Swift dropped 169 theaters and only lost 11% from week to week.
Well, Five Nights at Freddy's is currently sitting at number 20th for movies of the year. At 221 million worldwide. Imagine being able to add another, I don't know, let's say 50 million. Let's say it would have probably made about 300 million at this point if it hadn't been on Peacock. You're talking about it now being the number 15 movie of the year, sitting right below Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, I mean, looking at the factors of history, you're not going to get an asterisk on this thing down the road when people are looking at the numbers of movies, but saying, oh yeah, it was on Peacock the same day it was released to the theaters. So I do think it's going to be, but hopefully the studio will, I mean, I don't know if we want more Five Nights at Freddy's movies. I feel like they kind of did the first and second movie all in one movie. So perhaps we don't need another movie, but another one's coming. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
100%. Another movie is coming. You can, and before this radical amount of money they made, I would have assumed they would have just stopped there. Except for now, there is no, with the amount of money it made, there is no chance in hell they don't make another movie. Like this is going to be a franchise for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
And if they're smart, they'll release it every October, like 2 weeks before Halloween.
Well said. Looking at the numbers here, we've got coming up this week, we've got another movie release coming out. It is, what the heck is the movie coming out this week? My bad, it's not here.
Oh, okay.
I'll look at it.
Yeah. It's funny, Gran Turismo is still on this list. I don't know how is that the case?
Because they had 46 trailers, bro. That's how come. 46 trailers. It has to be on the list.
We need to make more money because the marketing cost us $700 million. Come on.
Come on.
Keep it going. Actually, the movie wasn't bad, by the way. It wasn't bad at all.
It wasn't bad. So next week, next Thursday, coming out will be The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes. If you're a fan of that,
Songbird and Snakes.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about it? Besides having that actress the Rachel Ziegler in it that has irritated so many people? I'd be curious to know what you think.
I'm not a fan of sorry, I just lost a bunch of light. My spotlight ran out of battery, I guess. I'm not a fan of the Hunger Games. I don't really understand them. I don't really care about them. I know the world is rich and fascinating. I heard the books are really good. It just doesn't really do it for me. I thought I could get into it before this next movie, and I tried watching it with my kids. Even my kids were bored out of their minds. Like, it's just so boring. Jennifer Lawrence is really, really hot, but she's not very interesting, you know?
Okay.
That's really that's how I feel. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Like it.
No, I actually really like the first Hunger Games movie and even the second one.
Okay.
And it actually got me to even read the books, which, by the way, the books are not very good. The first book is great, and the second two books turn into like teenage girl drama.
Of course.
which is written by a woman. So, she goes back. I mean, it's natural for that to happen, but it just didn't speak to me, obviously. But there is an element to me that is interested to see how this whole story, because it takes place in a dystopian future of the United States of America. It's very interesting to me to kind of want to see the start of it. So
Right.
I am intrigued from that place. I don't really care that Rachel Ziegler's in it. I don't really care that we're necessarily getting the Snow character from when he was a kid. So now we're going to get to see this character. And I can already tell you what's going to happen. The character is going to be like idealistic and positive about the future. And something's going to happen in the movie that turns him into the cold, heartless villain that he ends up becoming. But on that note, I still can't help myself. I want to know how the story began. So
Right.
probably for that reason, we'll go watch it.
Well, I know, and I know I'm going to watch it because we're probably going to talk about it on the stream. So
Right. Yeah. But on a gauge of like, for example, the Marvels, like my desire to go watch that movie on a scale from like 1 to 10 was like -4. So, so this movie's like a 6, like a 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. I mean, I like that you like it. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it. Can I there's one thing though, is a lot of movies. There's not a lot of movies coming up, right? I mean, there's a lot of movies coming up. There's not a lot of movies coming up that I care about. That's like my major problem right now.
Got it. Okay.
In fact, I'll show you right now. Like the only movie that I'm probably interested in, like really interested in seeing, is probably this year is only Aquaman, and only not because I even liked really the first movie, but really because I'm just ready to see it closed out. I just
okay.
A lot of the movies that I thought were interesting just aren't.
That's a good point. The movies that we do have coming out that we can talk about, or that we can be looking forward to. So Napoleon is one which I know you probably don't have an interest in.
I like Joaquin Phoenix. I just not really interested in the movie.
Yeah, and then you got The Bike Riders, which I think is going to be a sneaky good movie, starring the guy who played Elvis Presley, Aaron, what's his name, and also Venom, the guy who played Venom,
Tom Hardy. When
that's gonna be a great
does
movie.
Napoleon come out?
I think Napoleon comes out in November or early December.
It's December, I think. I don't see it on this list. That's why.
Wonka is coming out.
Don't care.
So that's something that I'm not really looking forward to it, but yet I have to watch it because
I'm sorry, November
it's
22nd when it comes out. I apologize.
Okay. So we got that, which will be interesting. I think the Ferrari movie is going to be interesting. Which has
I feel like I've already
Kylo
seen
Ren.
this movie though.
Ferrari?
Yeah, I feel like I saw it when I saw Ford versus Ferrari. I saw a lot of
totally different. I mean,
I know it's
you
a
got to
different
see
movie, but
I mean, it was the same time frame. Actually maybe a little earlier than that movie, but you will get to see that time frame again. And you did get to see Enzo Ferrari in that movie, but I think this is a focus on that character. And I think you have a really great actor playing him. So I think it's going to be interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You're right.
yeah. And by the way, I'm not. Why am I not interested in Wonka?
Well, I know why.
Timothy Chalamet sucks. Charlemagne, whatever his name is, he sucks. He looks like he's constantly on some kind of downer or something.
But not as Willy Wonka. He doesn't look that way in the trailer.
It's also a prequel, and I'm just like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much after what you said, that's all true, but in theaters, Aquaman is like the only one I'm interested, and I'm interested really to see like is it going to be good or a flop, and that's like my biggest thing. I don't know at this point.
I think it's going to be good. I'm shocked to say this
for streaming Rebel Moon. I really want to see that.
Yeah, Rebel Moon. I don't really want to see it, but I'm going to see it. Yeah, but Aquaman.
I want to see what he can do with like a science fiction, movie with like unlimited budget, pretty much.
He tied it into his other Netflix series and said they're part of the same universe. And now I'm like suddenly very not interested.
That upset me because how the F is that even a possibility?
I don't know. And I don't want, and what scares me is I know he's going to connect them together and he's going to force that to happen. And that is what makes me not want to watch Rebel Moon.
So this is in like the future. So is it in the future on Earth or something? Like,
I don't know. So we'll see what he does. Of course, we're going to watch it, but yeah.
That's
so
about it.
that's
about it.
That's what we have coming. I do think that Aquaman is going to be good. I do think they're going to close that out strong. And I think people are going to say, "Oh, can't we?" You watch what's going to happen. People are going to watch that movie, and they're going to be like, "Maybe we can do some more Aquaman." You watch, mark my words, it's going to happen because I think Manta is going to be a really great villain in this movie.
Yeah, it's possible. And what's that guy's name? Patrick something that always ruins movies. Like he should be a leading man, but somehow he never picks.
The guy who plays like the brother of him, his brother.
Right. So he's a good. He's a good actor though. Like he's a good. He's
a good
co-star,
supporting cast member, supporting actor. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. So I hope that he has
Patrick Wilson. Thank you, Artmade.
Patrick Wilson. If he has chemistry with Jason Momoa, it might work out.
I mean, he was good in the previous movie, Aquaman.
I know, but this movie is like a buddy cop movie kind of thing. He partners up with his brother to like take down Black Manta.
That's actually a good point. It could fail majestically because Patrick Wilson is kind of that like can bring nothing sometimes to it, and Moonfall is a great example of how he should never lead a movie.
That movie is like you were so disappointed by that movie.
I was really disappointed. Yeah.
Because you were like, it should be a good movie.
It was like one leading star actor away from being a good movie. It was literally a Patrick Wilson away for like if that had been anybody else. Literally any other A-list actor.
But the science was so wonky, dude. Like Moon was like a mile away from Earth and all that.
That was cool. It was cool as hell. I don't care. The fact that the moon was hollow and there was an alien inside of it. Fuck yeah. That was all great. I loved it. Patrick Wilson ruined the movie.
The alien reveal was cool, dude. Like it was like an AI or whatever.
It was cool.
Like all of a sudden, like I think AIs are rating our movie scripts now because all of a sudden, like it used to be like AI's bad, Terminator, right?
Yeah, that's changed a lot. Yeah,
they're all going to come back, and now it's like AI is not that bad.
Well, the creator made AI not bad.
They killed the Supreme Intelligence. Like we shouldn't have done that. Like
the Marvels is like, yeah, they shouldn't have killed the AI. Yeah, it's changing.
Yeah, Moonfall. AI wants to help us. What the?
Oh, all right.
You guys, who's writing these scripts? Like, feels like World War II propaganda right now. I don't know.
That's true.
I think Shane 3 is writing the scripts. Shane.
I think he wrote the Marvels for sure.
Our version of it in our Discord. We have a Discord user that's secretly the screenwriter for the Marvels, and they're like using. Okay. Well, that's the box office beat, everyone. What's next, brother?
It feels weird like moving on to like this other topic because we've just talked about movies so much. But what the hell? Let's just go ahead and talk about it.
What the hell?
Israel and Palestine. And here's the thing.
Oh, hey guys. Here comes a fun topic. Wait. Let me introduce this. If you weren't laughing already, prepare yourselves for a fun time. It's going to be good.
Well, listen, one of the things that our channel focuses on, is not politics, but on how our world is being shaped by misinformation and how our world is kind of how maybe the younger generation is I want to say like stupid. I don't want to say stupid, like stupid, but like not enough experience to be able to make decisions, but yet somebody's giving them a fucking microphone, so now they can say whatever they want.
Listen, 80% of our audience was over the age of 38, and about 3 of them were under the age of 30, and we just lost them. Thanks, Shane.
Okay, I expect to lose. If they were here in the first place, it's because somebody was forcing them. So, so this whole like Israel and Palestine thing, and listen, we're not going to go crazy deep into it. I just want to help a little bit. We want to help a little bit. What happened in the last couple of weeks?
Look at our face. You just got your monetization back.
I can't help
it. Just happened. What are you guys doing? All right, guys. Thank you, Google, for remonetizing us. And we're going to be talking about Palestine versus Israel.
I'm so sorry. Okay, but listen. Okay, so look, I got no horse in this game. Okay, let me just tell you. My whole life, I've been like, oh, cool, Israel. Okay, America backs Israel. Okay, whatever. I really don't. Look, I'm not Jewish. I'm not from the Middle East.
I'm Jewish.
I know you're a little Jewish, but you're not like.
Jewish.
Let me tell you what you're not. You're not Jewish.
No,
okay?
I'm not religious.
Yeah.
I'm not like a religious Jew.
Right.
My grandfather was a full Heb.
Right. So on October 7th, when Hamas / Palestine decided they were going to kill a whole bunch of Jewish people from Israel and also some Americans and kidnap a bunch of people, it was no different, honestly, than years and years of going back and forth and killing each other between Israel trying to defend itself and the Palestinians being this whole like mess of jumble over there that the entire world agreed could never be fixed or didn't seem like it could ever be fixed. It didn't really affect me. And so while I have, care and concern for anybody who's going through horrible things in their life, any sort of people it didn't affect me personally. A week or two ago, my children started getting involved in this narrative of this, like, can you believe what Israel's doing to the Palestinians kind of thing? And my older children started actually talking about like joining, like, going down to City Hall with signs and shit. And so I'm like, oh, okay, hold on. Hold on.
Like joining protest?
Joining protests, right? And so
like,
then I was like,
you guys have jobs, okay? You need to work your jobs.
Well, what I said was, oh shit, now I need to know what the hell's going on. Mm-hmm. So I actually spent about a week trying to learn as much as I could, because I don't have a pro-Israel I don't have any sort of stance at all. And so I just wanted to find out what happened. And the history is actually pretty interesting. So I went back and I looked at the history of how this all went about. And now I know way more about this than I ever planned on wanting to know or need to know. And I'm not going to give you a history lesson here. But essentially the short story is that basically the people who live in the region now, the Palestinians and the Israeli people, they all kind of lived in that region, millennia ago, centuries and centuries and centuries. That's where they were all at together, right? Essentially. And then over the course of a couple of centuries, the Jewish people were forced out and by invaders, and they kind of spread out across the world and ended up, essentially not being able to come back to the homeland in Israel. So thanks to the British, this is a very short condensed version, and the Zion movement, they ended up being put back in the land after the British came in control of Israel, and Israel gave them land back right after World War I. This is a very short condensed version and not completely accurate, but essentially the Palestinians got forced out a little bit, and the Israelites were given back their birth land, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so we've had this, right after that happened, all of the people in the Middle East kind of attacked Israel, and somehow Israel survived. And since that point, Israel's been defending itself. And now, thanks to the backing of the US and Western civilization, it's become a very powerful, influence in the region. And the people who don't like them even more. So now that I've said that, I wanted to try to give it in a way so that people could understand what's happening over there. Okay. Now that I've looked at both sides of it, I've got the facts on both sides. Okay. I'm going to give you, if you're if you live in the United States and you're familiar with the Native Americans, then this is going to work for you. Okay. Okay. You guys are all familiar with Christopher Columbus and the founding of the New World and the Indians being massacred and all that stuff, right? I want you to take this story. This is Israel and the Palestinians. Imagine if the Native Americans and Europeans had lived together in America from the beginning of civilization. Okay, so I want you to imagine Native Americans and Europeans, they had always been in America together. No, the Europeans didn't come over. They just had always lived there in this land together, okay? Then, while they were living there peacefully together, or not peacefully, fighting a bunch, whatever, they're living together, both owning the land. America was conquered by a powerful foreign invader, and most of the Europeans had to flee the country because the invader specifically hated them for their beliefs. Okay, so they came over, the invaders, and they just hated the Europeans, and they forced them to flee. And oh, by the way, the Native Americans also didn't really like the beliefs of the Europeans. So when the Europeans flee, the Native Americans just sort of fill in all the spaces. Okay. Over the centuries, a variety of invaders come and conquer the land occupied by mostly Native Americans and some Europeans who never left. Until one day, the most recent foreign invader decides they actually like the Europeans. And as a thank you for helping them fight in recent wars, they will give back the land that the Europeans were driven from so long ago. The Native Americans hear this and they become upset. For centuries now, they took up the land that the Europeans were forced to flee. It is now their land, they believe. But the foreign invader owns the land. And they say, nope, Europeans have a claim over that land. We're going to put them back in America because they were there originally, and now we're going to let them be there. So the Native Americans, they go to all the other Native Americans as soon as the invader leaves, and they go to the ones in Canada and Mexico and South America, and they all decide they're going to fight the Europeans as soon as the invader leaves. Mm-hmm. Somehow, despite overwhelming odds, the Europeans fight off the Native Americans and manage to hold on to the land that was given to them. But the Native Americans are angry, and they vow the Europeans will never be allowed to keep the land, even though they all shared it in the beginning. The Europeans have far less numbers, so they begin building strong defenses, and they make allies with foreign countries who will help make them stronger because the Native Americans continue to try to push them off the land. As the years go by, the Europeans offer to give the Native Americans whatever they want if they'll just let them have peace in their ancestral homeland. But the Native Americans vow there will never be peace under any circumstances, and the only way this ends is if the Europeans are wiped from their land. So, from a guy who doesn't have a dog in this show, this is the way I've come to see this thing, is that the Hamas and the Palestinians who put Hamas in power, their charter is that the Jewish people must be wiped from the land. And if you can't be reasonable about something, then I'm obviously going to probably take the side of the people who are more reasonable. And right. That's kind of the way that I've looked at this whole thing is, you know, the Jewish people, this is also their homeland. And so, you know, the fact that they're back there, they should find a way to make it work. But if one side is unwilling to make it work, is not willing to let the other person be there, then you can't have peace. And so this is what I've tried to explain to my kids. Now, when I read this to my kids, they were like, what are you talking about?
Right. Right. You know why?
Americans.
It sounds like the plot for Battlefield Earth 2.
Right. Which we didn't want a Battlefield Earth 1. So yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want that. Which Archmage says, or a DS9 plot line. Yeah, it's a very difficult thing to explain. Shane just tried to explain it in an analogy that took about 7 minutes, but it would require hours of conversation and probably weeks of research to really thoroughly understand this. But I think what the easiest way to explain our position is, if you are unreasonable and your only option is the complete utter destruction of another person or people or nation, then we don't agree with you, because war is bad. War is bad. Okay. We shouldn't be war. There should be no wars, but we live in a country where the war machine really owns the world, and the war machine Democrats, Republicans, none of that matters. It's really the system of war, giving money to other countries that turn around and use that money to buy guns and ammunition from the war machine, and to fund these horrible atrocities and war crimes across the world, while we're all sitting here comfortably paying taxes into that same system. That's really what it is. But we don't agree with anyone that believes that the only path forward is death and destruction. That we just don't. There's got to be a reasonable person. There's got to be reasonable people. And Hamas is a terrorist organization. Hamas and Palestine aren't the same people, but Palestinians did vote Hamas into power. So it's very complicated, and it's very difficult to explain. But from our perspective, I believe, as Shane agrees with me, is if all you want is war and destruction, then we don't like you. Like we disagree. I think war is bad. I think war is bad for business. It's not bad for the big business, the system that controls everything, that actually that is pitting Republicans and Democrats against each other, so that we're distracted enough to not bother looking into their to what they're doing. But ultimately, war is bad for everyone, all us normal people. So there should be no war. Like, let's not do war. And we live in 2023. We have email and phones and text messages and the ability to communicate and the ability to explain differences and to punish people that are unwilling to be reasonable. But for some reason, that same exact system and method of communication that makes it completely and totally reasonable to have a conversation to avoid war is being used to propagandize war. And I don't know a way around it, but if you listen to last week's episode where some guy was making his AI wife pregnant, I said it then. Like, I used to think that like we're close to the tipping point of not being able to come back, but like I think when I heard that story, I think we've already gone past it. And I think that because social media and these methods of communication with lightning instant communication, we don't have to have weird telephone effects anymore in our society. We should be able to communicate misunderstandings and avoid violence. But instead, those exact methods are being used to perpetrate violence, to turn entire groups of people against each other, to then fund the massive war machine further. And that's the biggest problem I have with Republicans, is that they really love war. And I don't know why. And I used to think that Democrats were less about war, but then it looks like they're all about war too. So it looks like we have two parties now in the system, and a two-party system that just really loves war. And I don't get it.
I think that this conversation, that is a whole different conversation, as well. So you're right.
Propaganda aspect though is like a real thing.
Right. But the propaganda now in this situation is really coming from Iran. So I don't want to give too much more into this, but essentially the Abraham Accords were going to happen between Saudi Arabia and Israel. Iran got nervous. Their puppets are Hamas, right? And they fund them. They gave them all the money for all the stuff they did. And they want to continue to keep a perpetual war going between Israel and the Palestinians to keep things unbalanced so that other Middle Eastern countries won't join Israel. That's Iran's big fear. And they're hoping, this is one of the things that people speculate on, is Iran's hope is that Israel would react to what Hamas did by holding these hostages and go in and slaughter a bunch of women and children. And then on the national stage, everybody would get angry with Israel, like is happening in the United States now.
Right.
And if you don't think that there are like some people put in place in these different countries, like leading these pro-Palestinian things, you're crazy.
There's misinformation, propaganda campaigns. Like, of course it is.
And these are foreign countries doing this.
Yes, and Archmage phrase, I agree. Lizard people. It's the lizard.
That's a good way. That's a good way to look at it.
And I'm not saying they're actual lizard, but like from now on, I'm going to refer to the system as lizard people.
Okay, that's I don't know what that means, but okay.
It's a joke from Y-Files because like the people really in charge are the lizard people.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of where it's coming from. So if you need to explain to your kids, I don't know which situation you guys are in, but my kids are that all they see is that Israel's killing innocent people. That's the way they look at it because that's what they've been told on TikTok, and now that's what they've learned. So I've been trying to educate my kids. Like, here's the history. You know, you can kind of believe what you want to believe, but these people want to eradicate these other people, and these other people just want to live in peace. As far as I can see. Now, I'm sure that Israel's not perfect and they've done things that are wrong.
Of course not.
And
there's propaganda on that side too. I'm positive.
Yeah.
But you know what? The TikTokers that have the sappy music playing and they show like war footage from like Call of fucking Duty, and they have text on the screen where they're like, the Iron Dome is a way of persecuting and suppressing the people of Gaza. You're like, well, hold up. No, it's not. Like everything you're saying is completely wrong and backwards. The only purpose of that mechanism, that defense shield, is defensively. So like, and there's a ton of it. Like I can't scroll on TikTok right now without seeing some sappy pop music and like bad war footage and like some like kid with like his hair is like this. Have you seen this yet? Where it's like all forward, like it's like popped up like this. He's like, free Palestine, man. You're like, what are you talking about? You have no effing clue. And I don't even know half of what's going on. But I certainly know that the 16-year-old with the pop collar and the weird hair like this and the sappy Justin Bieber music has no effing clue what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. I wish there was an easy solution to it. And, you know, just from an outsider's view looking in, this is the way I see it. This is the way I'm explaining it to my kids. And the thing is like the Palestinian people shouldn't be being killed either. Like it's a sad, horrible thing that Israel's got to go in and remove Hamas. And a lot of the Palestinian people will tell you that they are Hamas. Like there's not a separation between the two. But when your bullet points are death to all Jews and all people of the West.
Yeah,
like,
when your mission statement starts with death to all Jews and the West.
Right.
I don't think you're a reasonable person.
Well, and listen, there can be no peace. And I think Michael Nemo, who super chatted us here for $5, is fantastic super chat. You guys are reminding me of the black white guys from TOS. They couldn't stop until their planet was a cinder. You know, the one side's nobody could tell the difference, like half black, half white, half black. And they're like, we don't see the difference in you guys.
Black is on the left side and my black is on the right. Like, what? Who cares, bro?
No, and it was fantastic. It's a great analogy because, you know, I'm assuming that the Palestinian, and I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that the whole point is that they just don't want the Jews in Israel at all. You guys all started there together. Let them have a peace back. Okay. You guys share the land, you know, agree to peace. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I don't understand. I truly don't understand why two adults who can communicate properly can't agree on a way to be peaceful, even if they disagree. You can have peace with someone that you disagree with. You could be like, you know what? I don't agree with your choices, and you don't agree with mine. But you stay on that side, and I stay on this side. And we won't bother each other. Why is that such a hard thing? I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, and the irony is like at the time when Britain owned that region, basically they were in charge. They came over the conquerors. They were the owners of that region. So, you know, they made the choice to give the land back. You know, at that point, I would think that the Palestinians would be happy that, you know, the Britain was gone, and then they could find some way to form some sort of, you know, union together. But it's just not happened. I don't know. As long as you have, you know, regimes like Iran, like Syria over there, who don't want stability in the region, you know, this is going to continue to be a tough thing. But our young people need to be told like the truth. And so all I've tried to give my kids is the facts, and hopefully they'll go forward with more. And hopefully you guys got a little bit of information here, some facts, and we can see a little bit of the truth.
We got a super chat from Yoran too. Thank you, Yoran, for 50 SEK. He said, but people aren't reasonable. Misinformed will always skew the issue. he said the word I wanted to use was useful idiot. I mean,
it does seem like half of people are not reasonable. That's a good point. Which I don't understand. It must be a gene problem. I don't know.
Well, speaking to what he
reasonable.
said, people aren't reasonable. Archmage says you guys are coming at this from the outside. They were born and raised in a system without any of the context or ideas you have. They don't know anything else or have access to that side of information. But you're right. But the people in this country and in other first world countries that are sharing on TikTok and spreading the propaganda and prepare war, they do have access to the same content. They were also raised from the outside, but they have access to the exact same context and ideas we have, yet they are completely buying the propaganda and perpetrating the idea of war. And right now there's a war in Ukraine versus Russia, now a war Palestine versus Israel. There's China about to go to Taiwan. Look, man, right now, outside of the continent we're on, it's probably not a good place to be. Like anywhere you're going to go, like there's going to be issues. And when 30% of the planet is like, getting ready to kill themselves, like kill each other, that's not good. It's not good. And then, this is my quote. I'm going to put it up again. This is my quote for 2023. Oh, let's not do war. Let's just not do it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing. And so some people are going to have to, somebody's going to have to give in at some point. That's what's going to have to happen. And I can promise you, the Jewish people aren't going to leave Israel. It's just not going to happen. So, what happens
to hold out for a long time again. And they're like this tiny little dot in like a sea of people who want to kill them.
Yeah. So at what point do the people who live, the Palestinian people, say, okay, these people are never leaving. They can't be eradicated. How long do we want to live in squalor? Because their livelihood is not good. They're stuck in small areas, forced into these populations. At what point do they say, look, we want better lives for our kids. Let's try to find a way to have peace. And that's the only thing that's going to happen.
You ever see that movie with Brad Pitt? It's called World War Z.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love that one. I love that movie.
I'm realizing now that there may have been some like hidden messaging there because like they go to Israel and like the zombies are like scaling. I'm sorry, Jerusalem, and the zombies are like scaling the walls and all that.
Yeah.
There might have been some like symbols in there. Like the last place on earth you can hold out was like this like extremely defensible city,
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was deep. It was probably something topical. They're looking probably for a place in the world where that's a case, and Jerusalem just happens to be one of those places. So,
yeah. August said something important. The world's on fire ever since the Podcast brothers retired from the military.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's your fault, Shane, because I left a long time before you did. So when you left, everyone got unreasonable really quickly. So I'm blaming you, Shane.
Yeah. I went to Afghanistan and I said, yeah, okay, I'm done with this. I did Iraq, I did Afghanistan. I'm like,
this ain't working. No,
what are we fighting for here?
I want to make YouTube videos and write scripts. I don't want to do this anymore.
What are we doing this for? It was really hard to be over there doing that stuff and not see some of the ridiculousness of being over there doing that stuff, to be honest with you.
And I agree with the Archmage. I think that we need an outside force to threaten the entire planet.
Well, we don't need it, but that's what would we don't need that, but that would change things.
The only way we achieve peace on this planet, and I believe, like, you ever hear the word, the term, the Great Filter? Like, why have we not discovered other habitable planets with teeming with life yet? Why have we not, seen evidence of aliens in the galaxy? Because mathematically speaking, other intelligent life forms in the universe is inevitable. It is impossible for there not to be other intelligent life out there in the galaxy.
Improbable, not impossible.
Well, improbable. I mean, like mathematically, it isn't impossible, right?
No, it's. I mean, nothing's impossible.
So
we only have one instance of life. We only have one instance of life, so we don't know what the variable is.
So it's extremely improbable, mathematically speaking, for there not to be intelligent life in the universe. However, we have not found evidence of that yet. So you got to go, what are your options? There is a great filter. And the question is the great filter in front of us or behind us? That filter being it filters out societies that make it to the stars, right? Is it in front of us or behind us? Is it creating tools, the industrial age, the chip, the micro, the AI, rocket engineering? Is it the science that stops people? Is it the impracticality of traveling at lower than light speeds? Is it war? Is it nuclear devastation? What is the great filter that has stopped us from getting out to the stars? I think it's peace.
Maybe, but I don't think that there's any evidence for a great filter at all. I don't think we have enough experience or ability to be able to see beyond our own solar system very well to be able to tell whether there's intelligent life. I don't think we have enough.
We can see light from 5,000 years ago.
Right. But all you can see is light, and you can see maybe the chemical composition of stars and stuff. It is not that direct. It is very ambiguous. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
Michael
it's
Nemo says something. This is the great filter I'm talking about is the Fermi paradox.
The Fermi paradox.
Yeah. Fermi paradox. Discrepancy between the lack of conclusive evidence of advanced extraterrestrial life and the high likelihood of its existence. Yeah, that's what that is. Like, that's the great filter. And the question is the great filter in front of us or behind us? Have we surpassed the great filter? Or is it in front of us?
There is no filter. I don't like the idea of saying there is a filter, because we don't know if there's a filter. You got to talk about the hypothesis of there being a filter. Now, is it possible that we never make it to other galaxies? We can only go so far. That's what Brian means by a great filter. We don't know
lower than light speeds. It's like, is it impossible to go faster than light, which means that we'll never actually make it outside to a habitable planet somewhere.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. We don't know. And honestly, we're still early, I think, in our development as a civilization. So
I gotta tell you, though,
peace would help.
If the world had peace and we all worked on the same problem instead of thank you, Idiocracy, instead of spending all of our brain power on drugs that help us have better orgasms or stop us from going bald or whatever. If we actually spent our resources on things that mattered and we shared that instead of making it some kind of hyper capitalist thing where we have to trademark every single diabetes and cancer drug. In fact, we are filtering ourselves when we make insulin $1,600 a month, when we have insane cost on things that are saving lives of children that could be the next Einstein, that could actually have the next breakthrough, because we have such an extreme, almost abstract importance on capitalist money and being better than each other. If we actually came together, though, and actually had a system where we worked together and work toward the problem, I bet you we can travel faster than light. I bet you we can terraform other planets in our solar system. We can make the moon a gas station for ships going to Mars. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you we could.
I think the thing that's holding us back is our short lifespans. It's very difficult for someone not to be born now and to try to focus on what's in front of them in the next, 75 to 100 years, hopefully. That's what the focus is. It's hard to sacrifice now for a humanity future. Like, it's easy for all of us to say, hey, let's go to space, but you have to utilize resources now in order to help humanity in the future. And I think that human beings are really selfish ultimately, and we're really just focused on the 75 years that we're going to be here, as opposed to what is going on in humanity in the year 2500. Well, most of us don't give a shit because we're not going to be here to experience it. And I think that's what holds us back. It's what keeps peace from happening. It's why we have border wars between other countries, is because I need to get mine during my time, right? Instead of focusing on what is our race going to do for the future. And the few people who do have that focus are really not enough to tip us over so that we can move faster and further. And I think
Also
that's
distractions.
what you're talking about.
Like, I think
Yeah.
back when all the biggest breakthroughs happened, there was little to do but work on that big breakthrough.
True. Yeah, that's a good.
And
point.
now
And
there's like TikTok and the internet and Snapchat and Chatterbait and Tinder and, lots and lots of erotica and stuff like that. And like, I'm sorry, like Archmage phrase, vagina beer. Like, there are scientists working on how to take the yeast from a woman's vagina to make
well, that
beer.
that was Weekly Weird a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah, I mean, like there are things that make we are spending so much time. Like, there are geniuses that spend time coming up with memes to troll people. Like, I don't know. I think there might be two. I think the filter is us. I think if maybe there isn't a filter, maybe there is, but I think we're in the process of literally building the filter. I don't think it's a natural phenomenon.
If there is a filter, it's our inability to look past our own lifetimes.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Michael Nemo said for $2. Thank you, Michael Nemo. Says the great filter is we're still too woke.
I buy that for $1. It's definitely not making things better.
No, it's not better when there are scientists with advanced degrees who use insane pronouns on Twitter, and instead of spending their time actually, doing science, they actually spend most of their time complaining at colleges how we're all racists and bigots instead of actually doing their job. What about the guy? How about this? This actually happened like 8 years ago, I think it was. The guy who figured out how to land a rocket on an asteroid. Remember this guy?
Yep.
At NASA. He figured out how to fly a rocket to an asteroid and land it safely on the asteroid to pick up samples and bring back to us, so that in the future, when we're out of lithium and resources that we literally need to like be a modern society, we can think or consider or try to mine asteroids. The guy is getting an award and he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt his wife bought him that has a hula girl on it. And they not only canceled him, but they harassed NASA to the point where NASA fired the guy who actually made the latest breakthrough in rocket science.
And that was at the beginning of the woke movement too.
That was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this guy just solved the problem that we a practical problem we required for our kids to live and use their tablets, and we canceled him, we fired him, we destroyed his life, and we haven't seen him since. Welcome to the modern society. Makes no sense.
Yeah, so you're right. Woke is the filter. There you go.
That's the filter.
It's adding to it.
You're on for 50 seconds. He says, first episode of season 4 for all mankind. USA and Soviets are friends for now.
Yeah, I saw it go in that direction you're on. You could see when they were building the base up on the moon, how they were kind of going that direction with the Soviets. I mean, it's a logical, ultimately hopeful position that we will all be going to. We need to all get along, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to, hey, let's not do war. Hey,
let's not do war.
You know what? Look at me. Coming close right here. I can't, this mic's in my way. Listen, are you ready? Let's not do war.
Nobel Prize winner, Brian.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. Hiroshi the dog for 10 euros, I believe. My theory, all aliens have ascended into a powerful AI form of existence, and they don't want to deal with the biological
proletarians
like us. You know what? You know what's funny is that is almost like the conclusion.
Stargate.
Well, yes, the ascending, but also the conclusion of Isaac Asimov's The Last Question. When they become so technologically advanced, they just sort of merge with their AI that had been helping them come to all their scientific advancements for the last millennia. Or they just ascended and they're like, hey, we're not dealing with the stupid physical form squalor. And then we need scientists like Daniel Jackson to die, ascend, and come back and share his knowledge.
Yeah, there's some really fascinating, alien ideas. The fact that the aliens are humans, from a long time ago who found a way to, I think what Hiroshi's saying here is actually a lot of theories are like that. Like that what we're experiencing now with some of these UAPs and UFOs are really coming from ancient humans who are extraordinarily advanced, who basically are just trying to keep us from destroying the world, and they live in the oceans.
They live in the oceans.
So, yeah.
Yes, we're trying to make a video on
Aquaman.
No, Shane and I are actually trying. Okay, so I'm spoiling something here. We're trying to make a video about the USO, and Shane's been doing a lot of research. But it's just it's a long time. It's going to take us a long time to finally get this thing out. But pretty much like the reason we haven't blown ourselves up with nuclear war yet is like we got like aliens looking out for us, but those aliens are actually just us from like hundreds of thousands of years ago. Which, if you consider this, if there was a society that was advanced 100,000 years ago, we wouldn't know.
True.
Like everything decays over time, and nothing would exist we wouldn't be able to see anything from 100,000 years ago. Like it would all just be dust to dust, man. Like we wouldn't be able to see any evidence of an advanced civilization from 100,000 years ago. That's wild to me.
Well, imagine if we had to if there was an advanced civilization from a long time ago that had to escape into the ocean somehow in order to survive the Earth
the flood.
Well, okay.
What if the Great Flood story?
No, I don't. Yeah,
was about the Earth, like the ice caps melted or something, and the whole Earth was flooded, and we moved our society in the water, and when it finally subsided after a millennia, we just stayed there, or they just stayed there.
Yeah, I would buy more of all of the things that we don't grow anymore. We have the greenhouse effect or whatever.
Yeah, it was
asteroids
too hot
came
on the surface, right?
Right.
Asteroids,
and you had to go down low. Right. So, and then eventually the civilization just developed there, and then they didn't need to come up topside anymore. By the time they did, it wasn't safe,
Oh, lizard people. They're Solarians, like from
Doctor
Who.
I don't like
it got too cold or too hot or whatever.
Right.
And they went underground / the ocean, right? Where it's closer to the core. The Earth has changed since then. And like, there's not, I don't know. Listen, I like the Solarian theory.
I don't like the idea of Doctor Who deciding what our past was.
No, but the Doctor Who took that theory from some conspiracy theorists and made a show about it.
Yeah.
The Solarian, that Michael Nemo for 2 hours. The Solarian hypothesis. That's what
it is. Very interesting. Although I don't know if we would have dinosaur humanoids, but maybe. So
I don't know. Yeah, I love this. Marek Thought says 13,900 years ago. Think about what would be left if we were wiped out. To poo-poo the possibility is closed-minded. I completely agree.
Agree with that. Yeah. And something did happen a long time ago, and there's evidence it's coming.
Yeah. If you look at core samples, which is the best way for us to tell, like predict the past, there was some big like mud flood at some point. Something happened like a very long time ago that completely changed the core samples. Like you have the core sample and like right here is like this random black spot. You're like, yo, what happened for 10,000 years?
Right. Well, we did. We 13,900 years ago, we had the polar ice caps melted suddenly. And there's a lot. I hope we figure out more, because it would be interesting to figure out if Atlantis was a real thing, and that the Egyptians actually are the descendants of Atlanteans who that's how the pyramids were built. I mean, it would be cool that if we were able to learn that we have a more ancient and more full history than, the fact that, civilization was only created like 7,000 years ago. So,
yeah. That's silly. What's funny is everyone thinks they know what dinosaurs look like, but I found I saw a hilarious post how there are people that created artist drawings in like the 1800s with skeletons they found of things that actually weren't extinct. And like their artist drawings are insane. Like in comparison, like they don't look anything like what we think they were. Like someone found a hippopotamus skull, thought it was a dinosaur, and it was in a museum for a while with an artist rendering of what it would look like. When they finally figured out it was a hippopotamus, they are completely different things.
Yeah.
What if dinosaurs, first off, didn't look anything like we think they look like? Hey, what if they were intelligent, right? And then, like Archmage says, they fled to the Delta Quadrant, clearly.
Right.
Or they're the Solarians.
We have found, dinosaur intact skeletons. So we do kind of know what they were like, mostly. But yeah, you're right. Back there was a time when we were piecing them together that it was hard to tell what they were. Did dinosaurs have feathers?
Yeah, I would love, and I believe this actually, I would love this to be confirmed, that dinosaurs slowly just evolved into chickens, and we are now eating the fiercest beasts.
They are
the fiercest beasts that ever roamed the earth for a millennia, for millions of years, and we now grow them for chicken nuggets.
Yeah, birds used to be. They came from dinosaurs. Absolutely,
love it.
Yeah. So feathers on those
Rick
dinosaurs.
Is right. A lot of Christians think that we're in the 6,000 years thing. I don't think that's correct at all. I'm a Christian, and I do not believe in the 6,000, 7,000 year old theory. I think it's actually silly.
No, but that's what civilization has. Not that the world is 7,000. That's not what I meant when I said that. But you're right. There are Christians who believe that the whole Earth is only 6,000 or 7,000 years old.
Which, by the way, isn't even biblical. Like 1,000 years is a day to God, so that means that it took them 7,000 years just to make the planet. So what happened?
Well, no, there's thoughts on that. Some people say a day is just a day.
I know.
So the God also said that a blink of an eye, 1,000 years go by for God. So how many blinks of an eye are there in a week? Yeah, there's a bunch of ways you can do this.
Yeah, the best way to do it is like, you know what? Don't take, and I'm a Christian. I'm not downing Christian, but like stuff that was written a very, 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 very long time ago by people that couldn't agree to what a time frame was. Maybe like don't take their writings and say that's exactly how old the Earth is.
Right. But the scientists will tell you that civilization began 7,000 years ago in ancient Babylonia. That's what I'm talking about. Like we went from being hunter-gatherers to a society at that time, and then we built power, and God made us all speak in different languages. And that's the biblical stuff. I'm talking about actual.
Right. Yeah. Well, we went from hunter-gatherers when we formed agriculture, right? It was the agricultural.
Yes. That made us civilized.
That is what gave us civilization. Yeah, right. You're on false for 100 seconds. My personal lore is that we are the ancients in Stargate. In 100,000 years, I think it's 100,000. A Daniel Jackson variant will research us after we investigate Stargates. After we invent Stargates and fast forward. I love that.
Nice. I'll take that.
That's great.
That's great. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Josh Temple, same with you. I'm Christian, but the 6,000-year-old is not a biblical thing. I don't know why people say that, and I think it makes Christians look stupid. Honestly,
yeah.
I'm not saying you are stupid for believing in that. I think it makes us look silly when we say the Earth is 6,000 years old.
It's Christians sciencing the Bible. That's what it is. They're trying to take all those years that between Adam and Noah and coming up with a time frame. That's what it is.
I get it.
And by the way, we have Christians very close to us who believed for a very long time that 6,000 years was accurate.
Yes, very close to us. I remember us going to dinner once, and they were like, "Yeah, it's blah 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 blah," and they tried to like science it out, and I'm like, and Shane looked at me, he's like, "Yeah, no, that's not true." And our entire
nice try again.
It started like sort of aggressive because we disagreed, right? But like 2 hours later, I think they were coming to terms with like what we were talking about. I remember that.
Yeah.
Jeremy Snyder, he says, people say that everything tastes like chicken. That is false. Everything tastes like dinosaur.
That sounds like a Dwight Schrute Schrutism right there.
Someone needs to put that on a shirt right now.
I love that. Yeah.
I love that so much.
That is great. That sounds like a Dwight Schrute thing that he would say on The Office.
It does. It sounds great. Yeah. From now on, when we get chicken nuggets, I'm going to ask my kids if how many dinosaur nuggets do you want? 10, 4, 6. You know.
Just say dinosaur. Yeah, next time for sure.
Yeah. Let's all start supplementing the word chicken for dinosaur and see if people notice.
All right, I'm down.
Michael Nemo for $5. In Futurama, Star Trek becomes a religion somewhere in the 21st century. You know, I don't doubt that.
It's a religion now, man.
It's a religion now. Yeah.
Yeah. Along with
do you study at the altar of Roddenberry? I'm not talking about Gene Roddenberry. I'm talking about Rod Roddenberry Jr. the Fourth.
No.
Imagine if Rod Roddenberry's like grandkids are like the popes of the Star Trek religion.
That's how the Wild Stallions got it from Bill and Ted, man. They did a song.
Whoa, that's excellent, dude. Yeah, it's funny. Lizards. Rufus. All right, well, it's time for some Weekly Weird. Are you ready?
Oh, the Weekly Weird. Yes, I forgot about that.
I want you to know how troublesome it was for me to come up with Weekly Weird this week, being in a hotel with at best spotty internet on a tiny 10-inch laptop.
You're living in Weekly Weird right now.
Yes.
Like where you're at.
But I did it. All right. Here are your options. And today they're not as weird as I would normally want, but it's interesting because they all sort of have a funny / sad side to them. So the first one is guest at a Bored Ape yacht event in Hong Kong, struck by vision problems and sunburns. There's so many things wrong with that.
I don't even know if I understand what was just said there.
So guest at a Bored Ape. So Bored Ape is an NFT. A bunch of weirdos that love these apes. And they were on a yacht party where I guess they all got sunburned and they can't see now.
Pass.
Okay. Bail rejected for man dressed as girl student to take upskirt photos.
Okay, potential.
Okay, let me kill this Bored Ape one. Utah man says Grubhub driver accidentally gave him a cup of urine instead of a Diet Coke.
Potential.
Okay. Last one. Man killed by industrial robot that identified him as a box.
Man killed by industrial robot that
identified him as
a box.
I don't want to laugh right now because it's such a sad thing. A man was killed by an industrial robot that identified him as a box.
So an Amazon warehouse accident. Okay, I got you.
The AI of this industrial robot thought the man was a box and picked him up basically and just ran him through the system. It's so sad. Jesus Christ, why am I laughing?
Okay. I think I'm going to go with number 2.
Okay. Number 3 is the bail rejected for man who dresses as a girl student to take upskirt photos.
Yes. I think that's weird.
Okay. So this one is interesting. Let me get it on the screen.
Although the fourth one, for a second there, I was like, might have to do that one.
The Grubhub driver gave a guy a cup of urine instead of a Diet Coke.
Well, that's interesting, but I see that it's not really that weird because I think that probably happens pretty frequently.
Yeah, you're talking about the robot who actually thought a worker was a box and picked him up and killed him.
Yeah, but I could see that just happening. Like that's weird, but also the way I know how Amazon works, I could see somebody getting picked up and jacked. So
okay, so we are going with this. Bail rejected for man who dressed as a girl student to take upskirt photos. So first off, it is a man.
Right. There's your first problem.
Not a student, a man, a 30-year-old man who who cross-dressed as a female secondary student to peek and take photos in a restroom of a Good Hope school I can't pronounce it, Najai Chi, whatever,
Gao Chi-wan.
appeared in court yesterday. His name is Chung Hong. Chin Chung Hong, an operation officer of City Bus, was charged with a count of voyeurism and appeared before the magistrate David Chum Yong Fong at Shatin. These are horrible. He was accused of peeking and taking photos of two girls in a restroom last Monday on the third floor of a Good Hope school, a place where any individual could reasonably expected to be nude, to reveal an intimate part, or be doing intimate acts. Okay, this is hilarious because he's a 30-year-old man who cross-dressed to go into a high school and take photos.
I mean, it just goes to show that this, decrepit actions occur no matter what country you're in.
You're right, but like, how does this guy know that the internet has like an insane amount of free porn?
Right, but you gotta add the element of danger.
So like, his king is like, I might get caught.
Right. Yes. There's an element of, can I get away with this? I think
every time I see people who are like doing crazy, like, lascivious acts like this, I'm like, do you guys not have a phone or the internet? Like, you don't, like, none of this is required for you to get off, dude. Like, you can do what you gotta do in like 10 minutes with like an internet browser. I'm not condoning that act or anything. I'm just saying that you can avoid criminal charges and maybe ruining a girl's life for the rest of her life, or traumatizing poor, I guess their children in high school.
Oh yeah.
By just opening up a browser and typing in schoolgirl, which I think is the most popular like category on all these websites.
Well, I think it's more than that. So, like, for example, when I was in the Navy, we had on 2 occasions the same guy got in trouble for locking himself into the women's restroom and locking himself into basically a stall, and then just peeking on women taking showers and just like hanging out in there. He got caught both times. When he was asked why he did it, he really didn't have a good reason. But the fact that he did it, got in trouble the first time, got busted down in rank, had to spend time, punished, then did it a second time, shows that there's like a deeper association, involved here. I mean, there's porn's available everywhere. So the fact that you need to, actually look, so the porn isn't doing enough. Is that the right word? It needs to take it to the next level.
I guess. I think that, I think, so on that note, I think porn is actually super destructive. And, no judgment. I'm not judging anyone that watches porn. Like, do whatever you want to do. But I think it's destructive because I think it desensitizes you to, like, reality, right? I think that especially if you're like in a relationship with, like, an actual woman and not, like, an AI bot or whatever. Let's say you're in a relationship with an actual woman or an actual man, right? Maybe you have a sexual partner. Porn is only it will never enhance that relationship. I do believe that it will only diminish that relationship. And if it becomes an addiction, I think it will ruin that relationship. And then eventually you end up in a high school dressed as a woman with a full beard trying to get upskirt shots.
Yeah,
there's no end to it. There's no end.
Yeah.
Like the algorithm pushes you further and deeper and faster and harder, trying to get you where you want to go. And like, here's the problem. The human mind requires like this certain dopamine effect. It's called phasic dopamine. People with ADD actually have the inability to produce, I think it's mononucleus, a dopamine that is like a natural, like sort of calming effect. So we are constantly looking, I have ADD or ADHD, constantly looking for that phasic dopamine push, right? And every time you do, just like with any kind of drug, you become more and more, you get more and more of a tolerance to it. So you have to continually increase whatever is giving you that next phasic dopamine push. Here's the problem with porn. It creates the phasic dopamine. It gives you the feels, but then the next time you watch it, it doesn't do as much. And you gotta go a little more extreme until you end up watching some guy having sex with a chicken in South America, and you're like, oh, this is doing it for me. And you're like, wait a minute.
Personal
Yeah,
preference, sir.
But here's the deal. It's like your wife is right there. You were you're attracted to her, or at least you were at some point, and she's your sexual partner. But when you get all into this, when you get crazy into pornography, you get so deep that that your wife your wife or your husband or whatever, your sexual partner, is no longer enough, because you have pushed your mind to its limits, and your tolerance levels have reached insane highs, until you end up in a high school cross-dressing and getting upskirt shots.
Yeah. Well, and that's just
again,
the first
no judgment. I'm just saying that, like, you need to be careful how deep you go, because that algorithm is designed to keep you on their website, which means it's designed to constantly push your limits. That's what it's designed to do.
Well, and the first step is taking up shots in a bathroom, trying to get that picture. The next shot is, well, how can I get away with doing something with this girl? That's
Right.
like the next step. So
the next
like
thing is trauma. Yeah, like permanent, life ruining trauma.
Yeah, so it just kind of keeps progressing. So yeah, and I always wondered, like, the people who flash other people, like guys who wear trench coats and flash people, like, I never understood that. Like, what is that? Like, it's just another level of sexual, disturbance.
Yeah, they've gone so far. Like they now need to involve other people into their fetish that they've probably developed. Again, the algorithm is a strong thing. Like, have you ever surfed TikTok or Instagram or something and somehow ended up in like the knitting portion of TikTok? You're like, how the F did I get to like where every video is about knitting, right? Like what happened was,
don't use it.
Well, this is what happens. Like, so let's say you're scrolling TikTok and like there's all of a sudden there's someone knitting, and like you're on, like, half your TikToks are about Star Trek and Stargate, right? Which is me.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to one where some semi-attractive girl is knitting a Stargate out of it's knitting a Stargate, and you're like, well, that's really fascinating, and you watch the whole thing, and then you let it repeat, because the girl it went from, in your mind, semi-attractive to attractive, because it's like constantly changing, and that Stargate is really large, and like you're sure impressed with the artwork, right? And then you watch it a third time because you want to see what kind of colors knitting she's using. Now you've watched this video like 5 times because it's interesting and it's short, but the algorithm is like, this motherfucker likes knitting.
Yeah.
And the next thing it shows you is something in your normal feed. But then the third thing is another knitting video. And you quickly pass by it because you don't care about knitting. But then it's like, oh, this guy's like Stargate and knitting. And now it's someone wearing, in cosplay as Amanda Tapping, and she's knitting. And you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And now the algorithm is like, this guy loves knitting. And then you end up like your entire feed is full of knitting, right?
Right.
Here's the deal. The same exact thing happens with big booty hoes.
Well, no, well, yeah. So what happens is
every second you spend on that page is it's adding to that score of what you want to see, and they're designed to keep you on the page.
Right, until Brian finds himself at the neighbor's house naked with his phone and figuring out what the fuck just happened.
Now I'm trying to get my own in real life big booty hoe.
That's knitting. Booty. That's knitting.
I'm sorry. I'm on my phone. I'm like filming the chick while she's knitting.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the algorithm is strong, and like the purpose of it is to keep you on that website or that app or whatever. And the longer you spend on something, the longer it's smart. It's going to drag you into this like really crazy place to try to get you to stay there. That's all it wants to do. It wants to get you to stay there.
True. It's dangerous. That's why I don't.
And you might end up watching knitting, or you might end up watching pro Hamas videos. Who knows where you go?
Yeah, that's true. Bringing it right back. So that's very interesting. So I don't watch TikTok. My obsession is YouTube. That's where I am. And then, by the way, the similar effect, except YouTube videos are usually longer. So you're less apt to get caught by YouTube than you are TikTok.
People say, oh, the YouTube rabbit holes are dangerous. Like, what are you talking about? First off, YouTube videos are much longer. The majority of YouTube videos with insane views that aren't music videos are actually long form. Mm-hmm. So like the app has YouTube as an app. There is an algorithm, but it has a lot less data to work with, right? And then there's also, in addition to like what you're viewing and what you like, it'll randomly throw creators out there because it's trying to get you into more and more stuff. TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, these are much easier because it has like 3 data points to work with. What are you watching? How long you're watching it? And how many times you rewatched it? And then it slowly grows your preferences from there. And so that's why, like, one of my buddies, like, I look at his TikTok and like 99% of it is some like questionably aged girl like shaking their butt in a bathing suit. And you look at my TikTok and I swear to God, it's not that. You can just see like it's a lot of science fiction stuff, mystery stuff, like cryptids exist, you know, that kind of nonsense. And so that, like, that's the stuff I'm watching. Maybe it's because my phone is open. My wife can view it at any time. So when like a big booty hoe shows up, I'm like, it's like fire by how fast I swipe up because I don't want any of that. No. Maybe that's why. Maybe the phone knows I don't want to see that on my phone. But the algorithm is strong. So that, I don't even know how we got here, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful what you're doing. You're going to end up on some pro-Hamas channel with some guy chanting death to Israel while having sex with a chicken and knitting a Stargate.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the weekly weird news.
That's how we got there, because this random guy cross-dressed in high school. Right.
Tangent away, my friend. Well, this has been awesome. I think we're at the end of what we're going to do today. And unfortunately, since we can't go to a member section, we will be doing 2 members videos next week. So stay tuned for that. Right, Brian?
Yes, 2 members videos next week, which means it's going to be a nice long week.
Yeah, we'll do, and we'll let you guys know. It'll probably be like on Tuesday or Wednesday or something like that. And then we'll do the one on Friday as well.
Yeah, no money. You're right. It says so many YouTubers are getting demonetized from their shorts videos, all claiming reused footage. Yeah, which is, by the way, if you guys notice, that's why we're not doing shorts anymore.
Yeah, we're staying as far away from those as possible.
Yeah, even when the shorts are just us talking, they're like, reused footage. I'm like, of what? Of us? What? So,
whatever.
Yeah, no more shorts, guys. We're out. No more shorts here. It's all 4 and 6 hour live streams and well thought out documentaries about science fiction and hopefully mysterious forces in the world.
Yes. And wish me luck tomorrow. Tomorrow I have I've been coaching soccer. You guys know the whole story. I got kind of roped into it. The coach quit halfway through the season. I ended up taking over. My little team of 10 and 11-year-old boys is in the championships tomorrow.
Whoa!
And yes. And so we are playing at 8:00 in the morning, and wish us luck. I hope our boys who've been through so much dramatic trauma this season with everything going on gets to finish as winners tomorrow. So
I hope for Shane, I hope for your sake that they win. I'll tell you why.
Why? Tell me.
I want it to be known that the coach quit and you came in as the backup, the replacement, and you coached that team to a winning season. It's literally like watching Mighty Ducks, but with soccer.
We should watch a movie. We make a movie about it. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we'll call it.
Except I don't know anything about soccer, and the kids are really good. So it really has nothing to do with me.
Hey, you need to stay on the outside, or I don't know, something.
It was so funny.
Hey, don't bite other kids. I'm pretty sure that's a foul. Wait, is that a foul? You can't bite, right? Okay, yeah, no biting.
I had one of the kids.
Right? Can you dribble it? You can't dribble it? Fuck, you can't dribble it? Why? What's the point of this game? You can't even dribble.
I had one of the kids go, Coach, when I kick the ball back here, that's legal, right? I get a special kickoff to the right over here. And I'm like, I'll look into that for you. I have no idea what it is. Go out there and score goals, kids. Come on.
You do that nod where you're like,
yeah. Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
You just got to be confident about whatever you decide. And that's all it is.
No Money G for $10 says, great show, guys.
Thank you.
Or it was great show, guys, or great show, guys. I'm gonna go with that first one.
Yeah,
thank you, No Money G. I appreciate you, my man.
Thanks for the support, brother.
Yeah, and Hiroshi the dog for $5 says the algorithm is like the Force.
It is, and the Force is female. Just note that, Hiroshi.
The forest is female, black, gay, and lame.
Which I think all of that happened in the Marvels, except for the gay part. I don't think there was any gayness, but there was
gayness?
make him make him a chick and make it lame. Absolutely happened.
Yeah, I was having a conversation last night. Real last thing with Charles, the guy from he does like Game of Thrones stuff for the Salty Nerds, and every time I would bring up the Kathleen Kennedy quote, like make it gay, black, and lame. He's like, I'm like, I want to listen, bro. Those things are not like they're independently. All these things are fine. I'm talking about when they're all together and it's replacing something that already existed. That's when it's a problem. He goes, yeah, it's fine.
Thank you guys for all the well wishes. Appreciate it. And I'll let you know how things go next week.
Yeah. Love you guys. And remember, become a member by clicking the link in the description because, or on the video, there's a join button somewhere because next week we're going to do 2 member shows. 2 in a row, Shane? Are we doing a row?
Like we'll do one on Tuesday or Wednesday and then one on Friday.
Okay. That's what I see. We'll do 2 during the week. I see.
Yes.
And Kenneth the Rogue coming in under the wire.
Oh,
hey guys,
thank you,
good
Kenneth.
luck tomorrow, Shane. Thank you, Kenneth the Rogue. $20.
Appreciate that, brother. Yeah.
Kenneth the Rogue right now is our top super chatter, and he just increased his lead.
Ooh, all right. I love that
guys,
top 10 list.
That's it. We're out. We will see you. I'm pretty sure I'll be on Salty Nerds tomorrow if they're even doing that. If not, then I won't. I will see how that goes. And we'll see you next week for member shows and all that stuff. Love you guys.
All right. Love you guys. Appreciate y'all. See you next week.
I'm Olivia Munn, and I know that Kevin and Chris are hosting the show today, so it might be missing a feminine touch. So I thought I'd inject a little femininity into the show. So here you go. Vagina, vagina, vagina. Kevin's mom's vagina. Kevin's vagina. Coochie, vagina. My vagina is a little itchy right now. Vagina.